This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by On. The legend leveled up. With more support, more comfort and more cushioning for more fun on every run, meet the new Cloudrunner 2. From toe to heel, each element of the Cloudrunner 2 is designed to support your foot during movement. A plush tongue means total comfort and easy step in, while a durable heel clip helps to lock in extra stability and support. Visit on.com or your specialty running retail store to grab your pair today. Welcome to episode number 330 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. We've got a big show coming at you this week. We're late. We know we're late. We've just, a few of us come back from Japan, so that's caused a couple of issues with the releasing date, but we've got some running news to go through. Obviously, Osaka Marathon happened. New South Wales Milers Club, can't wait to get talking about that. Some big results from overseas. Bradley Croker has got some whispers. The first time in 330 episodes that he's got a bit of controversial stuff written here, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. We're going to preview some stuff that's coming up on the weekend too, and Izzi Batt-Doyle is also popping in at the end of the show, thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration. Bradley Croker, welcome to you up there in Canberra. How are you going for a day recording, midday, noon?
Yeah, I'm good. Wednesday, it's quite nice doing it in the day as opposed to the night. I'm really excited for this afternoon's episode, just to find out how you and Ellie's trip to Japan went. I know a lot of our listeners out there are really hanging for this sort of week's recap. So yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, sorry for coming out late, but we could have come out earlier, but it would have been terrible, like energy levels and quality. So it's like, I feel better about recording on a Wednesday and you can give it kind of best effort. But welcome to you as well, Ellie. Thanks for coming on after your race on the weekend.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Ready to hear about the big blow up.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, we'll go to you first because there's a lot of, I probably know stuff that a lot of listeners don't know kind of stuff, but there was a lot of, concern, initially, and probably still with a lot of listeners about not sure what actually happened to you in your race. So you're healthy, you're alive, and you're back in Geelong or back in Areas Inlet, but yeah, take us back to what happened and go through some details for us.
Yeah, so I had a DNF at, I thought it was around 35k, and looking back on my watch, it was about 35.8. So I think, I spoke about this on the show, that my basically entire race revolved around trying to run around 2:23. So that was the time that I knew that I needed if I wanted to have a chance of making the Olympic team. And I went into the race with that mindset. A couple of days before, the weather was looking pretty bad, and I think I almost had decided that wasn't going to happen, and I'd almost completely changed my mind on that goal to just go into it and race it, probably run a more conservative race and try and finish as high up as I could. And then race day came, and at the start line, the rain almost stopped, and it didn't quite feel as windy and as bad as we were expecting, so I flipped back into Rado, just try and run that pace again and see what happens. And yeah, in hindsight, maybe not the smartest decision, but so I went out. I had Kieran running with me, so Will, our training partner, he had a really bad last 3 weeks with injuries. He had an upper back injury initially, and then a hip injury that came on a week before the race. So he decided he still wanted to start, but he wasn't going to run with us. So we kind of set off, and the day before it had been decided that the lead females, the pack was going to go 3:19 pace. So they were aiming for sub 2:20. So I definitely wasn't going to go with that. So we just sort of decided we'd try and get onto about 3:23s and sit there. And yeah, first 5K, I did some laps, but I missed a couple. So the first 5K, was actually 17 flat. So that was bang on what we wanted. And then the lead women's pack was hovering in front of us, maybe like 40 meters or so ahead, I reckon. So I was like, they must be running a little slower than what they had said they were going to. And so Kieran said to me, oh, should we try and bridge the gap to them? And I was in two minds, but because it was raining and it did actually feel like when we had people around us, it was easier, like there was more protection, and we ended up almost by ourselves just sitting off the back of that pack. So I said, yeah, all right, but let's just go really gradually and try and catch up to them. Anyway, I reckon we ran 3Ks at 3:18s or something, which was just a bit too quick. We went through 5K in 16:43 on my lap split. Again, like probably just a bit too quick, but we caught up to the pack after about 3K and we were sitting in, and it did feel quite good. They definitely weren't running 3:19s. They were sort of hovering, I reckon, maybe 3:22s or so. And so we decided, yep, let's just stay there. I forgot to lap my watch after that, but I think we were kind of sitting on about what we wanted for the next 10K or so. I felt really good. Aerobically, I felt good. Around 25Ks, my legs started feeling bad, like almost similar to what they would often feel like at the end of a marathon. And I was thinking, oh God, this is a bit early. So I let the pack go and I just slowed down slightly. I thought maybe I just need to back it off a little bit, try and recover, and then see if I can go again. And then from there, basically, I just started getting slower and slower. I almost felt like my legs were starting to seize up a little bit, and especially my hips, quads, adductors, and I was trying to keep running the same pace, and then we sort of turned at about 31, I think, hit the hill. I really slowed down up the hill, and then going back down the hill, I was like, oh no, maybe I'm okay again. And then I think as I gradually got slower and slower, I started getting really, really cold. And I can't really remember, but I think it started raining a bit more at that time, and we also turned into the headwind. And then, it's all a bit of a blur, to be honest, but I stopped and walked a couple of times. I had all this stuff going through my mind, so I thought, do I stop now? Like, the time's gone, but I was still coming 5th in the women's race, and I was like, I can either stop now and try and reload for another marathon soon, or I can just keep going and just don't worry about the time and just try and race to the finish. And I just sort of decided to do that. I'd left Tiggy at home with my family. Everyone had done so much to help me to get there. I was like, just finish it off. Maybe try and
been on for
make some money.
225, wouldn't you? Like, you're still in PB territory.
I was still at that stage. I was, yeah. And then it was really strange. I had to stop and walk a couple of times. It was like my legs were just seizing, and then I'd walk for a bit, and then I'd be like, no, I'm okay, I can keep running. And then I'd run for a bit, and maybe I was trying to run too hard. Then when I was running for a bit, then I'd have to stop again. And then that happened maybe 3 times or so. And then I was like, what am I doing? I don't know if I'm going to, am I going to actually get to the finish line here? I wasn't really sure. And then at one point I was walking, and then the medical people were sort of watching me, and they came over. And I don't know if I was, I don't think I was really stepping off the road. I think I was still on the road, but then I was actually a bit out of it, to be honest, I think. And then anyway, they came and were asking me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But I think I was shivering. And then they were like, come in, the medical, there's a tent back here, come with us. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I went with them into we sort of walked back a little bit, and there was a medical tent around the corner. And then they kept asking me if I was okay, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was looking at these other guys in there who looked like they were in all sorts with hypothermia. And then anyway, they sat me down and started covering me with blankets and hot heat packs and putting hot patches down my clothes and stuff. And then, they took so I missed the first temperature reading that they got, but the second time they took my temperature, it was 32. and they just kept, they were really good, actually. There was about, 25 doctors and nurses in there looking after everyone. Basically I just had to stay in there until my temperature got back up to 36 point something, which I don't really know how long it was, but I didn't get back to the finish line until like 1 o'clock or so. So then they drove 4 of us. I think one guy might have had to go to hospital, and the rest of us, they drove us back to the finish line at that time, and then took us to another medical tent there. It was a bit of a disaster anyway. We eventually got back. I didn't have my phone. I tried to use someone's phone to ring Jose, but it was all in Japanese and I couldn't understand it. And then, we eventually got back to the end and got my stuff. And by then I was feeling okay because I'd warmed up and I was kind of fine. I just basically wanted to get home at that stage and to be able to tell Jose and that I was okay. So
scary for them.
Yeah, well, poor Jose, because they didn't see anything. So I'd gone over the 35K mat, so they knew I'd got that far. So he ran backwards along the course trying to find me. But because I was in the tent off the course, he wouldn't have been able to see me. So he was trying to look for me. Bree and Jules were waiting for me at the end for ages. And then they had just started to leave when I finally got my phone, and they came back and got me and took me home, which was really nice. But yeah, so basically it was a bit of a disaster. But I even if I didn't get, I'd already blown up before I got cold. So my race was over. I just sort of thought that maybe I could still make it to the finish line, but yeah, didn't get there. So yeah, that was basically just a bit of a disaster.
And for context, that 35 to 40K Croaks, like you took this left-hand turn, one straight road for 5K. I'm going to say the wind was like not gale force, but it would have been like anywhere between like maybe 15, 20 Ks an hour, but just cold. And you're already so wet, and it just like it was a miserable part. And there's just carnage everywhere on the course, like just people walking in the gutter, people jogging at 5-minute K pace. Reese Edwards is still out there, I think. I'm not sure if he's made it in yet, but it was just like absolute like chaos in this big stretch of like road. So if stuff was going to go wrong, I think that's where it was going to happen.
Yeah, and you're right. Like, I don't really remember the wind, to be honest. So I don't know if I was starting to be a bit cognitively impaired or what, but I just remember seeing people like collapsed on the ground. And I was still even overtaking people at some points, even though I felt like I was going so slow. But it was just, carnage.
That's Japan for you, though. You're always going to go past people because they all go out so hard anyway. But it's funny how, you prepare, like you do all this heat training to, one, get fitter, but prepare for the heat. And it just seems like some people are better in heat, some people are better in the cold, and some people can't handle the cold. Like, do you think you can actually acclimatise to the cold a bit? And obviously coming from Australia, it's tough because there's like no cold days at all this time of year.
I think when you throw the word cold around, though, I think it depends on how cold. Like, I reckon there's like 5 to 10 degrees I would classify as cold, and then like anything under 5 I think is like next level. Like your body doesn't function in that cold as well as it might. Yeah,
I still think I still think some people are okay in the cold compared to others. Like,
a genetic thing.
My first marathon was in the snow, and
that's
like
cold.
It was cold, but it's like I never felt like I was getting hypothermia. So I think some people can handle the cold better than others. Like some people can handle the heat better than others.
Well, I thought I was pretty good in the cold, to be honest. Like, I almost feel like I'm better in the cold than the heat, but it really, and it came out of nowhere. Like, I went from I had arm warmers, gloves, ear warmers on, a singlet and shorts. I didn't wear and I felt like I went from being completely fine, didn't think about the cold once, to then all of a sudden freezing. Like, it was just a strange thing. And then, you look at like Lisa, she had such a good run. She was wearing a crop top and briefs. I think she had arm warmers and gloves on, and she had ear warmers on as well. But like, you're right, Brad, it probably just does affect some people more than others. But I kind of thought when it was cold, like, maybe this will be good for me, maybe. But that definitely was not.
And it's crazy to think that pretty much 12 months to the day you're running in like, high 30-degree heat where people were getting hypothermia.
Yeah,
pretty
exactly.
Much
in Japan.
To the day.
Yeah. It was It was mad.
12
And I
months
think,
to
I don't
the
know
day.
if the mental...
No, in
like,
Bathurst.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Bathurst,
I
yeah.
was going to say, it wasn't the Olympics. Yeah, Ellie, you were thinking
12
Olympics,
months.
Oh,
weren't
yeah, I
you?
was thinking the Olympics. That was
Yeah.
like 3 years ago.
No, Bathurst was pretty much 12 months to the day.
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah. So maybe I should just stick to the heat.
Yeah, maybe you're better in the heat going off these two results.
Yeah.
Bathurst and then Osaka.
Oh,
So did it
yeah.
pay down to 5th? Is that why you started to get in the whole 5th thing in your head as well?
No, it paid down to 8th.
Oh,
So I was like, but it was pretty good even, I think, still for 5th. So I was like, come on, just, salvage something from this, make some money. Like, you'll be fine. But like I would have been, I actually just don't think I was going to get to the end no matter what, really. But I think at that stage, I still felt, I don't know. I don't know. I was out of it.
because there was a lot of questions about, like, was it a strategic DNF to save, to be able to race again? So it wasn't. It was a...
No.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately.
it was initially, I did consider that earlier, like before, around 30, when I was starting to slow a fair bit. I was like, and I've never DNF'd a marathon before, and I was like, would this be a smarter decision to stop now? And I was kind of going through all that in my head, what do I do? What do I do? And then I made the decision, no, just finish it off. Try and place as highly as you can, and worry about what's next as far as, having another crack when you finish. Don't think about that now. I was trying to put that thought out of my head just to get to the end, but like realistically, I probably should have just stopped then.
Were there ever conversations?
It's not a nice feeling,
It's
DNF.
not, yeah.
It's like a real failure feeling, more so than if you have a bad race, I reckon.
It kind of takes yours was kind of taken out of your hands though. Like you made the decision that you weren't going to DNF, and then your body like let you down. Like it wasn't like you took the soft option. Like you were still trying to push through the finish line to finish as high as possible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it
yeah. But I
wasn't
think
like
at the time it felt like it was. I think at the time I still felt like it was me decide. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah,
I was
but once
sort
they
of,
check your body temp, and it must have been like 28, 29 then, if it was 32 on the second reading. Like that's like
I don't know. Nah, it wouldn't have come up that much that quickly.
wouldn't okay.
I don't know as well. Like once you've come off and you've had assistance, I don't think you can go back on anyway. So
Okay.
it was really as soon as I allowed them to walk me into the tent, I was like, okay, this is me giving up right now. Like I know that I can't go back on, because I'd already stopped and walked a couple of times, and I'd already almost stepped off, and then I got back on. And I think like looking at my splits, I think I was stopping my watch as well and then restarting it. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but
You get to the finish
Moved on
line.
here.
Yeah, you just ask for 5 minutes off your finishing time when you get to the finish.
That's a moose on the loose topic, that one.
I know, and like as if that was going to make any difference when you're like, yeah.
No, it's just
anyway,
habit though, isn't it?
I don't know what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, and I was just in a bit of turmoil. And then I feel like the whole thing had been like such a mental. The week before I found really stressful, to be honest. The weather forecast stressed me out. I tried not to let it worry me, but it really did. And I think that was my own fault for putting this goal in my head of that all that mattered was that I had to try and run 2:23. And then it meant that and I knew before that I would need absolutely everything to be perfect for me to have any chance of doing that. So I don't know why I didn't, adjust that and go, okay,
Was there
I think
ever a
the
conversation?
marathon's just like that's
Yeah,
where the
coach.
marathon is so cruel, because you put 10, 12 weeks into one day. You then often fly to the other side of the world to do it. So you've outlaid a lot of money, and then you get a less than perfect weather day. And especially when you're talking about trying to make the Olympics, it's like I'd almost say that Lisa's 2:24 that she ran is probably better than what any of the girls ran in Valencia. Like, in terms of conditions, it's like there's so many variables with the marathon. It's and that's why it's such a tough event to get right, because you can't reload in a week's time.
It's brutal. Yeah.
So will you reload or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there ever conversations in the days leading in, Ali, before you tell us about the reloading plan, about like to just go to 25k and pull out?
No, I didn't want to have that thought in my head before, and it was the same as like the reason that I didn't register for another marathon or try and get into another marathon before was because I wanted to put all my eggs in this one, really have a crack, and then if it didn't go to plan, work out what to do after. I just didn't want to have that plan B there already because I thought that might, I don't know, I was just worried that it would mean that I wouldn't put everything into this one.
Be in the back of your mind somewhere, like, it'd be hard to focus.
Yeah. I think when I saw the weather and I was like, I don't think it's going to happen today, I changed my focus to just racing it, but I never thought about pulling out early. I just didn't ever think that was going to happen. I thought I'll finish it no matter what. Which was maybe stupid, really. I just basically, and Jules and I didn't talk about me stopping early. We talked about adjusting the plan and just racing if the conditions were bad and it wasn't going to be a fast time. We did discuss that. But then, I just and I think I'd almost, completely come to terms with that in my head until race day when we got to the start line and I was like, it's actually fine. Like I think I can still run fast in this weather.
We were making jokes on the start line. We're like, why are we wasting time checking the weather the last 3 days? This is perfect for running fast.
Yeah, because there was one weather website of all the ones we'd all been analysing that said it wasn't going to be raining at the start of our race. And we were like, Brady and I were saying to each other, they were right. AccuWeather was right.
AccuWeather for the win.
And we were all a bit excited again then, weren't we?
We were, yeah. But it feels like, I don't know, my similar story was like a race in two. Like the first 15, 20 Ks kind of felt normal and then until it didn't. And I think the course had a lot more longer straights in the second half and the wind was picking up throughout the race. It just felt so much tougher than the first half.
The first half, like at halfway, I was thinking, I am on here. I'm going to run like 222, 223. I feel so good. Yeah. And then it just very, very quickly changed. I don't know, you talk about your race.
Any more questions? No, tell us about the reloading plan. That's what everyone wants to know. Ballarat Marathon getting excited? Is that what you're thinking? Is that in the qualification period?
Canberra?
No Sinead, but we've got Ellie instead.
I'm not going to do Canberra. I think that's a bit silly. I was talking about Ballarat. Was I talking about this with you the night after the race? I was talking about it with Reese at the airport on the way home. He was like, you do Ballarat, I'll pace you. But I don't, again, everything needs to be perfect. So I feel like I have to go overseas and try and find the best possible course as far as conditions and flat course goes to give myself a chance. Jules and I we're going to sit down and talk about it this week, but it's a little bit tricky because do we go sooner and try and salvage fitness from that block, or do we go later? So the qualifying period ends May the 5th. Do we go, that weekend or the weekend before and try and almost do another short block leading into that, recover properly from this? Because he sort of wanted to wait and see how I recovered as well. Because 35K is that awkward in between where probably if I'd stopped at 30, I could be back training normally very soon. 35, I was pretty sore the day after. I feel actually pretty good today. I haven't run yet, but I'll probably run tomorrow. It's just trying to work out what we do. But I'm looking at options both sort of within the next 5 or 6 weeks and then right at the end of the block. So there's Hamburg and I also don't know what I could get into. That's the other thing. So because it's quite late, then I might not be able to get into any of them. But Hamburg's last weekend of April, Copenhagen's first weekend of May. The marathon that Jess is doing in Korea is start of April. So that's a bit awkward. It's kind of in between. But, that'd be pretty fun. I could go and run with Jess and we could both have a crack together. And then, there's a couple within the next couple of weeks, but I'm actually thinking with how sore I was the day after, that's probably not realistic, and whether or not you can get into a marathon 2 or 3 weeks out.
Soon, yeah.
So watch this space.
Cool. It's good to know. The track idea is fully done though. A lot of people are writing in saying, would you potentially focus on the 10K?
Well, the 10K time now is 30-40 or something, or 30-50. I actually don't think I have any chance of running that fast. And then points, I don't know that there's going to be enough races for me to get points. Like, really, I was meant to do Zatopek last year, and I got sick the week before it, and I had to pull out. And I mean, that would have been, I probably needed to have that and a good result there to my name to get some points for the 10K. So I don't know. I don't think the 10K is possible for me, but Jules did say that. Do we talk about the 10 but I think I still want to do the marathon. I don't know. I probably still need a couple more days to like let it settle and think clearly.
That's what this podcast is about today. Just a debrief, its own counselling session for all of us with Croaks on the couch.
Well, what do you guys think I should do?
Well, there's nothing to lose, is there? Other than an Olympic spot, which you don't have at the moment anyway.
Exactly.
As long as there's no huge injury risk, I think you got to. Yeah, the 10K is probably too quick, and the point system game you can't play because it's a bit late for that. So yeah, why not just? I like the idea of 2 or 3 weeks or 2 weeks to maybe a week and a half to recover from that Osaka effort. Another 2 weeks to kind of get back into training. That still gives you 5 weeks of training. Do a 1 week taper. Do another mini 4 week block.
Yeah.
Hit something.
Yeah, and also like injury risk, I don't really care at this point because I'm not on the team. It's even less pressure than it was before Osaka. I feel like it would be such a long shot that I may as well just throw everything at it. If I get injured, whatever. If I don't get injured and go to another marathon and don't run the time, whatever. Like, it's just kind of. But I also feel like I can't just sit here and watch it not try.
Yeah, and give up
for the next 3 months. Yeah.
Because you probably only want to just get back to the same fitness level you were at, and hopefully the weather and a few other things go in your favour. Like, you don't have to then be aggressive, like even more aggressive for that 4 week block. You just got to string another 4 weeks of what you've been doing throughout, December, Jan, together again.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think the way, I know that the first half of the marathon's totally different, but the way that those paces were starting to feel at the end of this block, like, I really do feel like I was fitter than I've ever been for a marathon. And I as much as that was like a big knock to my confidence, especially with how early my legs went, I also think, there was a combination of me maybe making some poor decisions early on and pushing it a little too hard through that 5 to 10K. And also maybe the cold contributed to how my legs felt as well. So I do still feel like there's a chance if I can, replicate that fitness that I had going in, and have like a tailwind the whole way or something.
A point-to-point tailwind downhill.
Yeah. I need to find a legal downhill point-to-point race. But we'll see. I mean,
you're sounding good spirits anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I got over it. I had a few hours of being depressed in the medical tent, and on the way back to the finish line to almost process it all. So I actually felt like by the time I finally got back to Jose, I was like I'd been through that really flat, bad stage, and I was like, righto, move on.
And the
karaoke.
The hypothermia.
Karaoke helped.
The hypothermia, Ellie, like, are there any sort of longer term impacts of that?
I don't think so. I think I don't know, because once I was warm again and rehydrated, refueled and stuff, I actually felt fine. So I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's quite the same as hyperthermia where you've got to be really careful for a few weeks after. I think the recovery is a bit better, but I probably should look into that and make sure.
It didn't affect the karaoke performance, if that's what you're asking, Croaks.
Yeah.
What was your go-to song, Ellie?
50 Cent in the club.
No, we did play that actually. My go-to, the first one I had to sing was Naughty by Nature, Feel Me Flow, because a couple of years ago Jules challenged me to try and learn how to rap it because I told him I was a good rapper. I did that right at the start, but no, I've got one video of karaoke rap. I didn't take a single photo or video the whole time I was in Japan except this one Linkin Park video of karaoke, and I kind of thought at the time we were all pretty good. You should see this video. It is hilarious. Anyway, we had a very fun night Sunday night. So I don't know if like going and drinking 8,000 beers was really the best recovery from what I'd just been through, but it was good for the mind anyway.
Yeah, you got to enjoy the aftermath. All right, Craig, tell us about your week.
Oh, no, tell us about your race.
You don't want too much Osaka news next to each other? You go in the middle. You sure?
Go Brady. Yours is good. Yours is different to mine, but still really interesting.
This is what people want to hear.
I'll quickly go through my week. Not that I did much running leading in, but I'll just quickly open up my Strava and go from there. So I flew over on Thursday the whole day. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was quite normal. Monday was 48 minutes, 4:34 pace in the morning, and then 5k on the treadmill in the afternoon. Tuesday was, what happened Tuesday? 7k. Oh, I did an afternoon workout? No, I didn't. Tuesday was just 7k. Don't know why that was.
Did you do 7K. Your Wednesday workout?
Oh, I did. Yeah. No, I had a really poor sleep Monday night. I was blaming the show, because we finished late and we had a busy episode because we had Claudia come in and Jess was filling in, and I don't know, I was just wired Monday night. So I woke up Tuesday morning. I reckon I didn't fall asleep until like 1 a.m. Had a shocking sleep. I was teaching on a Tuesday to make up for a day that I was leaving to go to Japan. So I just jogged for 33 minutes on the treadmill after school and moved my workout to the Wednesday. That's right. And I was just like, I'm not going to push through this last workout super tired. I'll just move it a day. So on the Wednesday, I felt much better. I did 4K at goal marathon pace, which turns out was not marathon pace in the morning. So like 3:17, 3:18 pace, and then just 5 by 1 minute on, 1 minute off. I did put in my notes here that going from 20 degrees to 5 degrees is going to feel really nice.
Oh, I just saw that.
Yeah, got me there. Hey, there's audio I want to find. If I can find it, I'm going to put it at the start of this show, like previously on Inside Running Podcast, where I 3 weeks ago was like, I'm just concerned it's going to be really cold. I don't want to get all iced up. And you're like, nah, you'll be right. Just put on some gloves. Just put gloves on. It's fine. So I'm going to
Do you know, I thought of that. I remember saying that as well. And I remember saying, no, we'll be right. The cold's good.
Yeah.
Or something like
that.
Swear arm warmers. Idiot.
Then I drove to Melbourne Wednesday night and just did 15 minutes when I got out of the car near the airport there. Thursday was a whole day travelling, so I didn't run. But I didn't mind that whole day. It just meant that I didn't really interrupt my sleep and stuff. So, yeah, got to Osaka Thursday night. Friday morning, went outside of the hotel, and the first person I see is Dave Ridley doing drills out the front of my hotel. He was in the hotel next door. So that was good to see a familiar face. He'd finished his run. I was just starting, so I just did 10k around the castle there. I did go anti-clockwise first, and I didn't see anyone I knew. So then I thought, on the second lap I'll go anti-clockwise, and then I bumped into Ross, who does the show notes for the show. Stopped and had a bit of a chat with him, and then I bumped into Dean Menzies. This is all in the space of 200 metres, and I'm just like, I've got to stop going this way, otherwise I'm going to see so many Australians and have to stop every 200 metres. And we're just having the same conversations about what flight you're on, have you seen the weather for Sunday? And it was pretty cold as well, so I started going back the other way. But cool run.
How did your legs feel?
I felt good.
The flight?
Yeah, I felt fine. Good. And I had to stop over in Cairns, so it was good to be able to get off and walk around for a few hours as well. So, yep, I felt fine the next day as well. Ridley and I ran from our hotel. I was about 8k and then some strides. And yeah, the legs felt like they had heaps of pop in them. I felt like I'd taken on enough carbs. I felt like I'd done everything I could to, I went and got an extra beanie. I had 2 pairs of gloves on. I had those little heat pack things in my gloves. We kind of, what it's like in these Japanese ones, Croaks, they put you in these big halls and everything's just super structured. You go pick up your bib the day before, and then you have to. So we had to show our shorts, our singlet, our gloves, our arm warmers to show that our logos weren't too big on them. And keep in mind, I'm a guy with bib 209. I'm not worrying the podium here. It's I'm a very low seated athlete, or high seated, whatever the slower one is. But their organisation of these marathon races is so organised and strict and just structured. So then on the morning we had to go into this spot, and then you had to check your drinks in on the morning. You had to then get your bib check that it was just pinned on your singlet properly. Show us your shoes, show us that you got your timing chip on, and then go into this room. and then someone comes into that room like an hour before the race and yells out that the warm-up area is open, so then like it's people going out to the warm-up area, and then we probably left that room like 20 minutes before the race, and you'd kind of just stand around. We were just kind of like jogging in circles near the start line there. Everyone's putting on their little dots, you know, the Japanese dots. You seen those things?
Talk us through those. What are they?
I got no idea what they are. Moose just rocked up and he just started sticking them everywhere, and he's sticking heat packs and heat straps, and yeah.
Do you know what they are, really?
I think they're like titanium little pressured things. Like, I don't know what it's actually supposed to do.
Is it meant like the electrical current through your body or something?
Something. Is it like a Chinese medicine thing?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They look pretty cool though. When he was putting those on, I'm like, geez, I've missed a trick here. I've missed out on these things. So,
purchase of the week.
Purchase of the week, yeah. I did like the little heat things though.
He would be the easiest person to sell stuff to, wouldn't he?
It would be. So we do that. We get out there. It's not raining at all. We're just like, this is perfect. Like, we're all warming up. Like, hey, I don't even feel cold. This is great. Gun goes, starts on a downhill, and bodies like everywhere. Like the Japanese are just flying out. And I'm like feeling amazing, as you should, in K1 of the marathon. And I'm like, I can see Reese and Ridley are in front of me. Dean Menzies was just in front of me. I'm just running along. I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, where's Moose? Like, where's this pack? Like, this massive pack's meant to be running like 3:19 pace. I'm a bit stranded. And then we run past the K marker. And I just had like the lap pace. Oh, no, the lap time on my watch. I had no idea what pace I'm going. I run past the first K and it's just like 3:06, 3:07. I'm just like, oopsie, we got this wrong. I'm in the two.
And you wonder where you get the reputation for pacing.
So I'm like, oops, I got that wrong. So then, and I reckon about 200 metres before that, Mattress was on the side of the road videotaping. He's like, go Brady. And I'm literally like pointing, I'm like, is Moose in that pack? And he's like, no, Moose hasn't been through yet. So I'm like, fully put on the brakes. I think I ran a couple of like 3:25s in there to let the pack catch me. And then, Pat caught me. Marantelli's in there. Moose is in there. There was a couple of paces in there. Like this, it was meant to be this like female lead pack, but there was no females in there. So, we kind of sat in this pack for a while. And then a guy on a bike came up and kind of told one of the pacers to drop back. So he dropped back, and then these two other guys were just kind of, controlling this pack. And I'm talking like 25, 30 people in this pack. Then we went through the 5K drink station, so like 16:38, so right on kind of like 2:20 low pace through the first 5K. And then they just started to pick it up a bit. And Moose kind of said, like, this is way too fast. We need to kind of like relax here. Like they were just running like 3:14, 3:15. So we kind of settled back down. And then the first 20K was really just like boring. So like we went, 16:38 for the first 5, 16:36, 16:33, 16:43 to 20K. And as I said before, like a lot of like 1K straight, take a right hand turn, cross a bridge, another K straight, like a bit more twisty and turny in that first 20K. It was fun. Moose was doing a lot of work on the pack. Ben Cook was in the pack as well, a guy from Queensland. I think his PB was like 2:28, but he wanted to try and break 2:20. So we had a kind of good Aussie contingent there. Moose was doing a lot of work up the front, and we're kind of talking like it was comfortable. It's like, I don't know, you want the marathon to feel in that first 20K. And then going over this bridge, maybe like 18, 19K, Moose just said, he goes, my hammy's feeling a bit tight. And I was like, you're right, get off the front, just sit in this pack, because there's like 20 Japanese guys sitting on us. So I'm like, let some of these guys do some work. And he kind of peeled back and just, chilled out a bit. And then going over like this little bridge, he's like, nah, I don't know exactly what he said. Something like I'm in trouble or it's cooked or something like that. And I was just like, you're right, just get to 25K and then reassess. I just break the race down kind of thing. And then he just like peeled off. And that was it. I kind of looked over my shoulder and it was kind of, it rattled me because I just had this plan in my head that I was just going to stay with Moose for as long as possible. And then Mara was on the front at that stage, and he kind of got a few steps in front. And I kind of like, Mara, like Moose has dropped off. We were just like, fuck, like what? How did that happen? Like just couldn't quite believe it. And then we went through 21K in, I reckon it was, or the half marathon split was 70:08 or 70:10 or something like that. And when Mara and I both ran Melbourne Marathon in 2021 in December, we went through similar split. And I said to him, this has got a bit of Melbourne about it. Like, and then we're like, but there's no hills in the back half of this. Like, we really thought at that stage that we could, pick it up a tiny bit and, go under 2:20. And then we turned a corner, a U-turn at 24K, I think it was. And it was significant there that we're like, oh, we've been running with a tailwind for the last 4 or 5K. And then our 25 to 30K split was like 17:01. And it was just like, oh, there goes 220 straight away. And it's just about maybe just racing this and seeing, how much time we can kind of save in the second half. And then at about, I'm going to say, we were still 17 flat from 30 to 35. And I probably dropped off, Mara and Ben. They kind of kept the foot down. This whole Japanese group had blown to pieces at this stage as well. And then I just remember, like, everything just felt, like, stiff and numb. And a couple of the U-turns, you just took them and you, like, just felt like my hips were, like, super tight and hammies. And, yeah, I felt like someone had put my body in a freezer. And then you're, like, trying to get, like, range of motion. And it just was not happening at all. And at that stage, I was really close to like the turn where we went into this headwind for like 5K from 35 to 40K. And I was just like, just get to the finish line. Just like stay out here, don't pull out. I felt super cold. I had 2 pairs of gloves and I'd had 1 pair taken off and put in my shorts. And then like at 36K, I'm like literally pulling those back out of my shorts and putting them back on again. It just felt, miserable, cold. And the main goal was to just get to the finish line. And it was probably a bit of that like conserve energy. Like I think if I had a gun to my head, I probably could have run 30 seconds faster on the day. But for me, I was like, I don't care if I run 2:22:20 or 2:22:50. It was very much like the goal at this stage of the race is to get to the finish line, which is odd because every single other race you do, it's just like grind out as much as you possibly can and run fast. And you're witnessing this, it sounds a bit sick, but there's people, as you said, like people walking into the medical tent. I've probably passed, I reckon, 20 people in the last 5K, and it felt like I was jogging. You went past Reese, had a bit of a chat to him, and I was waiting for Lisa to come like flying past me because at a couple of the turnarounds, she wasn't that far behind. And just like really, like the finish line was pretty shitty too, I thought, Ellie. Sorry, you didn't. Yeah.
I didn't see
Sorry,
it.
I didn't mean I wanted someone to back me up and say, that it was shit.
Save those gags and moves next week.
No, but it was very like not very big crowds, and I'm just like, is this it? Like this is the finish, and then across the line, stopped my watch, and I'm just like saw Mara and Ben, and I'm just like, how'd you guys go? And just tried to get as warm as possible. Like it was, I don't know, maybe because I was in a shitty mood because I'd run 2:22, and I still don't know where it sits because like some people I'm talking to are like, 7-minute PB, 8-minute PB, and then like people around, they weren't, probably Lisa made the rest of us look bad. I think I probably fell somewhere in the middle between like good results, poor results, and I was like, it's an okay result if, you're applying.
I think, being in those conditions, I actually think your run was still good. And you slowed, 10 seconds a K or whatever, but it wasn't a massive blow up. It was just, and that, I reckon that amount of slowing could be completely attributed to getting cold and, just muscles starting to tighten up on you and not being able to maintain the same rhythm. Like it wasn't a massive blow up, and it I don't know. Yeah, just with the conditions in that last 10Ks, I actually think that you still did pretty well. And I know what you mean. Once you get defeated mentally, it is hard to really put yourself to the sword when you're like, what's the point?
And I was kind of like, oh, could I back up quicker? Or like, and like even, conversations with Carly in the days leading in, it was just like a bit of that unsafe kind of like she was very much like, don't do anything stupid. Like I'm concerned about you over there and that whole, so I was just like, stay away from that in this last 4 or 5K and just get the job done without, I don't know. It was weird. It was just like, And like missed, I look at it as a bit of a missed opportunity. You like what you're talking about, Croaks. Like you need everything to go right, and you feel like you've nailed workouts for 2 of them a week for the last 12 weeks, and then you're just like, you go over there, and that's that time I don't think matches up to the shape I was kind of in. But that's probably the beauty of the marathon, that you gotta. It's not just check out the training and then this is the return you get on race day. You gotta. Need a few things to go right. But I think,
but don't be disheartened, because I agree. I think you, from what I saw of your training, I actually think you were fitter than you've ever been. And I was so certain you were going to have such a good race that it just, so at least you know what kind of shape you could get yourself into. It's just, yeah, like you said, got to find the right race, right day, or everything come together.
That's all. And
Sorry, does it sort of put you off these international marathons a bit now? Like you've traveled solo twice now to like Valencia and then Japan, and obviously like there's the financial cost, there's leaving the family at home, and you're just like, well, like I know it'd be pretty disappointing coming home, like knowing you're in shape and spending all that money going away from the family, like I don't need this shit anymore. Like, does that ever go through your head?
Yeah, I told like these guys afterwards at 38k, I was like, I'm becoming an influencer. I'll just go run 2:28 with a selfie stick and like just get me deals, Zaka. Like sell me to any marathon out there. Like that would be an easier kind of life to just have some fun, become a content creator, do that on the course and stuff. But yeah, I think the family component, the bit that gets me the most. Like, and you feel like, the amount of like pretty much every Sunday for the last 3 months, Carly has just been like, well, Brady does not exist as a dad here because he's running for 3 hours or driving the hills or like doing big workouts, and then he might be tired when he gets home, and you're just like, you feel like they deserve the result more than you, because it's like they've kind of sacrificed things or done things to support you, and it's just like, and then it's like, oh, we did all that for a 2:22. It's just like, it just does not, it just almost feels cruel for them, like not to, like I can kind of weather it a bit because it's like, well, you're out there and you're doing it, but it's very, the point you're making is it's very big sacrifice, financial, time, energy, and not just for me to then get a return like that. But at the same time, I think it's important to live with like purpose and goals, and it's like, although you didn't get the result on that day, it probably makes you a focused person for the 3 months leading in, and a motivated person, and someone who's like trying to inspire other people and work towards a goal that may not get achieved, but at least you're working towards it. So it's like that
and
kind
how
of...
good is that for your kids to see you doing that? Like, I know you feel like, I completely understand what you're saying with the feelings, because I feel exactly the same way, but I also think like they're looking at you working hard, being fit, healthy, taking care of yourself, taking care of them, and they're going to be really inspired by that, and learn good things for as they grow up.
I'd rather try and get it wrong, or don't get the reward you want, than not try and then just live a different existence that I don't know at the moment. But it's why I can still do this and my body can handle the training. I'm still happy to try it and to travel to these things, and I think I will, especially Japan. It's probably the most enjoyment. That's my 5th time to Japan, and my most enjoyment I've had in Japan. And I'm like, I really want to take the kids next time, because that would be that would be really good for them, and even Carly, because like to see what Japan's like and the culture and the food and all that kind of stuff. So try and somehow get them, so it's not and you also left your family kind of thing. It's like, no, my family was part of this on race day. So stuff to think about, but and like probably at a stage now where the years are ticking by pretty quick, and like there's not going to be many years left when it's like, let's work hard and train for an international marathon. Like, I think I've got a whole lot of years to be like, let's do Canberra, let's do Brisbane, let's do Adelaide Marathon or something like that. But I still think I can run a quick one, and internationally is the place to do it. And
also, Brady, like the flip side of it is, like, I messaged you boys afterwards, like, in a way it's the shit days in the marathon, or the shit results. Not saying your result was shit, but it's those tough days that when you actually do get it right on the day and you go overseas and you run a massive PB, it makes that feeling even more special.
Yeah, I know. I got that a lot. Like, a lot of people have been really nice on writing stuff like that. But like, when I read that and hear that, I'm just like, yeah, but how many? Like, I've had 10 of those shit days now. Well, not 10 of those shit days, but 10 days where I'm like, it hasn't been perfect and I haven't ran that time that I'm like super happy with. Like, I'm on the treadmill in like the weeks leading up, going like, you're visualising that coming down the home straight and seeing 2:18:20 and going, thank fuck, we finally got one. Like, it's, you know what I mean? I'm just like,
it'll happen.
Oh,
and you'll come on the podcast, and then I'll remind you of this conversation, and you're like, it's so true. It's like, those bad days, because if you don't have the bad days, the good days don't feel as special. It will happen. Like, for me, it was like, seeing you and Moose run well in Berlin in 2017, like, that was a shit day for me. And then, 5 months later, I ran a massive PB, and it was like, that Berlin experience made the BY one even more special.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll happen.
Hopefully, mate.
Think about, Sinead, Sinead had so many cracks at trying to get the Australian record before she did. And remember the video of her at Valencia when she comes down the finish chute, crosses the line, and then realizes what she's just done.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's that feeling of, I've tried to do this so many times, I can't believe it's all come together and happened.
Yeah.
And it's not the same feeling, I don't think, for 5K, 10K half marathons. There's something about when you absolutely nail the marathon and you cross the line that it's a different feeling to those other events, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll keep chewing away. And the body actually feels pretty good. I jogged today, being Wednesday, and they felt sore, but not as sore as they've been in the past.
One of my whispers.
Is that earlier than normal?
Yeah. Well, actually, I mowed the lawns, and I'm feeling all right here. I'm like, let's go just see if I can get half an hour out. So, yeah, usually I go maybe 20 minutes on the Thursday or Friday, but I was like, I'll just see what happens. It was 28 degrees as well, which felt completely different than Sunday.
First whisper, Brady, of the episode.
First whisper.
I hear a whisper that you're reloading for another marathon sooner rather than later.
Well, the qualifying period's still open, Croaks, isn't it? When's the qualifying period end?
May.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not thinking that. I am considering what motivates me in running and stuff, and it's just are there...
Cash? Ballarat?
No, Ballarat. I'm meant to be pacing Ballarat at 25k, pacing Nathan Stote, so...
what pace?
They haven't discussed it yet. Depends on who else is there, kind of thing. But I reckon he can run 220, 221, probably capable of even quicker. So, yeah, I'm just... Half of my brain is going, hey, that was just a bigger workout than normal, but it's just you can bank that and then keep going. So, yeah, I'm in the same mind as Ellie. Can I just, bank that, have an easy 10 days and then maybe a solid couple of weeks of 140, 150 and then be like, oh, could I find something in 3 or 4 weeks' time?
So what are you thinking, though?
Which could be Ballarat.
Okay.
Ballarat's in, is it about 9 weeks, 10 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's 8 this weekend.
Oh, 8, yeah. So
8.5. Yeah, potentially. It is the same day as the weekend as Gels Park Relays, so I'm not sure how our bat team's looking there with, a few people out. But, yeah, I'm just, hoping to.
Hamburg too, Brady.
Yeah, getting to Europe and back is going to be tricky. Real tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
When's Jess's one? When's debut?
Later. Jess's is start of April.
Yeah, 7th of April. Same day as Canberra.
Okay, so it's about 6 weeks.
So that was, I think it's 5 weeks from this weekend because it was 6 weeks from that race.
Yeah.
Which, that's a bit awkward, I reckon, because it's kind of in between. I guess you could have a down week this week and then still get a few good weeks in, but...
It's all awkward and unknown until you've got at least a week of jogging and maybe touching the surface with a small workout to just get a real indication of okay, how is my body? Was that more of a big workout fatigue, or is that I'm in big trouble, and get those ideas out of your head?
When Brett ran the record, he did that, I reckon it was only 8 weeks after he'd run London.
Correct. That was when Croaks did see my run on Strava and put that in the message group earlier, Ellie. I reminded him that, hey, Brett Robinson broke the Australian record 8 weeks after he ran London. And people were just oh, no, that was his last big workout. London was, and he's got heaps of benefit out of that, and then just tapped on a little 4-week marathon build and then broke the Australian record.
Yeah.
These are things I shouldn't even be talking about, records or qualification periods or anything like that.
No, but it's good to hang on to any example of someone doing, that's what I've been doing as well.
Yeah. What about at the pub afterwards when I was talking to a lot of people and they're like, yeah, I ran an 8-minute PB, went from 3 hours to 2:58, and then similar examples. I'm like, nah, unless you run under 2:30, that's something different must have happened out there. Because I don't know anyone that had, other than Lisa, she was the outlier, anyone who ran under 2:30 who had a good day. Whereas that 2:30 to whatever time, there was just PBs dropping everywhere for some of the Australians over there.
Yeah, Reece was saying that pub was full of people that had run really well, and he said he felt much better when he got to all the people that had shockers.
Yeah.
All of us, and he said there was no talk about running.
Yeah.
No one was up and about their races.
Everyone just drowning their sorrows, Croaks, at this second one. Anyway, Bradley, tell us what you were doing.
So I didn't have It's okay. It's improving. So I ran a total of 42K last week. So I came off the Sunday long run where I stopped after an hour because it felt like a 1 out of 10 pain. Saw the physio Tuesday afternoon, so I didn't run Monday. His assessment was some bursitis in my hip, which sort of makes sense because when I smash the anti-inflams, it does settle pretty quickly. So he said, look, take a couple more days off, try and run Thursday or Friday. So I met the group Friday morning for my first run since Sunday. Did 8K, just Lake Burley Griffin, 4K out, 4K back, 422s, no pain at all. Then I ran with Sam Hopper Saturday morning through Mulligan's, did just under an hour, 410s. Once again, no pain at all. So I thought, oh yeah, this is pretty good. And then long run on Sunday. I wasn't sure how far I was going to go. I was like, look, if I get through 60 minutes, that'd be great. Ideally, try and go maybe 90 minutes. And I did get through 90 minutes, and it felt pretty good. I'd say it was maybe a 1 out of 10 pain for the last 15 minutes. But it sort of settles a bit niggly sort of afterwards. But I smashed some anti-inflams straight after that. I had some anti-inflams actually on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but then I didn't have them over the weekend while I was running. I'm like, I don't want to sort of mask anything here. So it's it's okay. I took Monday off, did a session yesterday with the group, a pretty light session for me, and it was all sort of pain free. And then I did 45 minutes today, and maybe the last 10 minutes, it was just a 1 out of 10. So it's sort of it's certainly not bad because I'm getting through decent running without really a lot of pain at all. But it's not 100%. And I sort of just hate when you have to modify loads. I'm the type of person that would prefer to sit on the couch and do nothing for 2 weeks and then come back and have it 100%. And I can pretty much just start running 100K a week versus this sort of, I'll go out the door and I'm not sure whether I'm going to run for 45 minutes a day or an hour. And, the chances are this week's probably going to be another 50, 60K a week. And I'm like, I'm better off just doing nothing and then coming back in 2 weeks' time and running 80 to 100K. Anyway.
You're not better off doing nothing. Then you risk getting something else because you completely deload and then you got to reload everything.
Yeah, that's true. But then I just I don't want to be looking back in a month's time and go, oh, hey, I've had 6 weeks here where I've run 40K because I just can't, shake it. So I probably just need to be a bit more sensible with, the load. Yesterday's session definitely wasn't hard, but anyway, it's definitely improving. I think I'll be right to run most days this week, but it just probably won't be super long runs or anything or much intensity.
Listen to the physio there, Croaks. Let's take her advice.
That was my week.
Good week. I was going to ask you about races, but you're just getting on top of that. That's my stock standard question at the end of your week every week.
Don't think about races yet.
No, and then just come and see me once I've strung together 10 weeks of 100+ K.
How'd you go? Could you watching splits and stuff on Sunday? Did you get a stream?
There was a stream on Facebook, but to be honest, I really struggle to get up and about watching a Japanese marathon because it's I can't hear what the commentators are saying. I don't know the runners that are out in front. So I sort of had it on, but it was more just tracking, splits. So I had that sort of tracker on the computer and just had all the runners. So that worked really well. But watching a Japanese marathon, it's not overly exciting if you don't know the people who are running.
Yeah, not really scenic out there either. Just running through a city. Every street looked exactly the same. Anyway, thanks to Patreon supporters, Croaks?
Yep. I got Braden Hogan this week from Northcote in Victoria. Looks like he runs with the Northside Collective. I think is that Dave McNeil's group?
Yeah.
So he's got a 5K PB of 1952 from the Parkville Park Run. He ran 40:20 at last year's 2xU wellness run. Half marathon PB of 93 minutes, which was en route to a 3:08 marathon at Melbourne last year. He's finished Surf Coast Century a couple of times, and I believe he's the Director of Emergency Management at the Victorian Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. So thanks for your support, Braden.
Big title, that one. Thanks, Braden, for your support. Who you got, Ellie?
I've got Richie Egan. So Richie's from Geelong. 5K PB of 16:05 from the 2022 Bendigo 5K Frenzy. 33:15 at last year's Sandy Point 10K, 73 minutes at the Sunshine Coast half. That was last year, I'm pretty sure, because I saw him there. And on Sunday, he ran 2:33:07 at Osaka, which was a 7-minute PB, and he went through half in 77:25, then negative split. He must be one of the only people that negative split this day. 75:45. He won the 2023 Cadbury Marathon, and he runs with the River Runners group in Geelong. So Richie, he used to work for Bree and Jules at the running company.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, maybe. Yeah, so he's a really nice guy.
I bumped into him yesterday Monday when I was waiting to catch the plane home.
Oh, did you?
I had a great chat with him. Just in
At
that
the
main
airport.
street. You know that main street in Osaka? I was just walking down there looking for some presents for the kids. Bumped into Richie. Then we bumped into Reese. Had some sushi with him. It was good.
Yeah, nice. Was he stoked with Sunday?
Yeah, he's making us look bad with that kind of behaviour in the second half.
I know, so good.
He's still over there. I'm going to thank Ben Chandler from Mordialloc in Victoria. 5K PB of 18:33 at the Chelsea Park Run. 38:05 for 10K at the 2023 Carmen's 10K. And 84 minutes at the Wangaratta Half Marathon for his half marathon PB. 2:59 at last year's Adelaide Marathon. So congratulations, Ben, getting under 3 hours there. Looks like he's a dad with a couple of boys. So they'll keep you busy, Ben. Massive thanks for your support of the show, and Richie and Braden, and to all the other legends over there at patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast. If you like what we do on the show, you can support us for as little as $5 per month. Road to Osaka, their finale is coming out. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't know when they're all flying back, but it'll be sometime next couple of days.
I think Jules gets back today, and Reese was on my flight yesterday, so he's home already.
I think Rachel's still over there too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whenever it comes out, it'll be coming out early on Patreon. Then we've got to think about, Croaks, what we're doing next for the Patreon supporters.
It's coming up.
Got some good stuff. Zaka did want to set up a meeting with all of us the other day to talk about planning ahead. And I said, we're not great at planning ahead, but we'll be able to figure something out. So, keep an eye out there on Patreon. We really appreciate all the support, all the messages over the weekend. It's cool to be able to share the journeys of build up to big races like that, and then hear the messages, read them when they come in afterwards.
Hear about the highs and the lows of the marathon.
Yeah.
Mostly lows, this one.
The concern, it was good to see there was concern out there about what happened. So, I know I was messaging Tommy DeCano afterwards. I'm like, good race to miss when you get sick, mate. And he's just like, what the F happened out there? Like, he just couldn't believe what he was seeing on the split. So,
I said the same thing to Benny Saint. I was like, I think maybe as annoying as it is getting sick, you guys probably,
Do you
probably wasn't the worst thing.
Do you think Moose will ever go to Osaka again?
So we were having this discussion actually. Initially he said, absolutely not, I'm done. And then he said, but part of me almost feels like I need redemption from this race because, both times 20, 21 Ks.
I'm going to say it must have been very close to when he pulled out the previous year.
I think so. I think he pulled out at halfway last year. And after he left you, Brady, he came back to us and he was like, my race is over. I'll try and help Ellie and Kieran. And he was like, we were shocked when we saw him. And then he sort of said, my hammies no good, but I'm going to run with you guys for as long as I can. 10 meters. And then he was like, I'm gone. Sorry.
Yeah. Recapping all that. How many weeks until we can drop the second half of the Osaka Marathon course gag with him, do you reckon, Croaks?
Next week, I reckon.
Next week.
He's all right. I think he's, he...
Well, he also DNF'd the after party because he was the first one to drop out too of that, I reckon. He left very early.
Julian was, he was having a good time.
Only because he'd gone the hardest from the start of that, I think. Let's get to some
we went to
I'll tell you
just quickly first what set that off. We went to this barbecue place, and it was like, when you're 18 or whatever and you're at uni and you go to a uni ball and it's all you can drink.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like a restaurant, but it had all you can drink for 90 minutes. And it was like $16 each or something. So I think that sort of, that's what started off our afternoon.
Well, poor Zaka and myself, we're getting so Brady and Julian are sending messages to each other via our group chat about where they're meeting. And I'm just like, boys, can you just take this elsewhere? It's like, leaving this place now. See you there. Can you drop us a pin? I'm like, why are we getting all this?
He dropped me a pin that was literally a car park. I'm showing these Japanese guys on the street. He's like, yeah, this is the spot. And then I'm messaging like, mate, the pin you sent me is a car park. He's like, no, I'm out the front now. Like, just not the guy you want to be communicating with. Anyway, hey, Ali, I do know that you're here because Tiggy's sleeping at the moment. So if Tiggy wakes up and you've got to go, Croaks and I can just handle the back end of this show. We really appreciate you being here, but please don't leave your baby crying.
I won't. I was thinking that she's still asleep at the moment, but I might have to drop off at some stage. We might have 1 minute
left of Ali or half an hour. We'll see.
This week's episode of the Inside Running Podcast is proudly sponsored by On. Confidence boosted. The new Cloudrunner 2. The legend leveled up. With more support, more comfort, and more cushioning for more fun on every run. For professional athletes and new runners alike, our Helion Super Foam is a game changer. The upgraded midsole provides softer cushioning and higher energy return, plus CloudTech cushioning to absorb impact, so you can keep racking up the miles with confidence. From toe to heel, each element of the Cloudrunner 2 is designed to support your foot during movement. A plush tongue means total comfort and easy step-in, while a durable heel clip helps to lock in extra stability and support. Visit on.com or your specialty running store to grab your pair today.
Yeah.
Croaks, right. Running news, you want to go to Sydney first?
Yeah, I don't know whether you two saw this, but it was one of the best things I've seen in athletics recently. So it was at the New South Wales Milers Meet at Bankstown. So they'd set up, and I think this sort of happened, probably not long after the Maury Plant meet that this was set up, but they put on a really fast men's 1,500 metres where they had Charlie Hunter and obviously use of pace. I think Charlie went to like 900 metres and it had, Jake Wightman, Jai Edwards, Cam Myers, Jesse Hunt, and they were getting after it. And so once the pacemaker dropped off, Jake, to his credit, just kept the pace going. And then with 200 to go, Cam sort of put a gap into the field. And so Cam won in 3:33.30, which is the fastest time by an Aussie on Australian soil. Jesse Hunt had a big breakthrough, second in 3:33.64, and Jake Wightman was third in 3:34.31. I think Jai Edwards was fourth in 3:34 as well. There was 8 sub-3:37s, 11 sub-3:40s. It was the fastest time in the world this year. But the thing that stood out for me the most was the atmosphere at the track. They had people on the infield. And so people were running pretty much from the finish line across to the 1,500 metre start, just backwards and forwards the whole race. And then when Cam crossed the finish line, he was just swamped by everybody at the track. And it sort of reminded me of old footage you would have seen when Steve Prefontaine won a race at Hayward Field, where people would just swarm the track. It was so good to see. Comments, Brady?
Oh, yeah, well, same. I must have missed it because I just landed in Japan. So I'm just trying to enjoy my flight, get to my hotel, and in the message group, Ali, it's just Zachary and Croaks talking about whatever's happened in Sydney back and forth. So I was tempted to tell them to take it to a private chat. So I didn't watch it until the day after, and you guys were obviously frothing it real hard on the Thursday night. And then I watched it and I was like, wow, this is unseen. I've probably been watching athletes for 20 years, never ever seen an atmosphere like that at the finish line where this kid is just swamped. He is, I'm happy to sound clip this now, cut and paste it, whatever you want to do, I'm happy to call it, but Cam Myers is the real deal in Australian distance running and worldwide distance running. I'm happy to call it there, Croaks. Go real controversial with a big call like that early on. So
I need to take back a comment I said a couple of weeks ago too, where I said when Stewie was racing them at Maury Plant, and I was like, yeah, but do you think he's quite on the same? Are they quite on the same level as Stewie, the young guys? And then he absolutely is.
He is, yeah.
3:33 in Australia, beating people like Jake Wightman and Jesse Hunt's run as well.
Yeah, he got lost a bit in
So
there.
good.
Yeah.
It's really exciting.
So exciting to see. And we've had Matt Whitbread on the show years ago, I reckon, when he was trying to make it this Albie Thomas Mile as the Australian Championships. And remember they got the wrestling belts and stuff like that. They're trying to really build this. They've been doing, when Jimmy was at Athletics New South Wales as well, they're doing the streams, they're doing the commentary, they're getting good sponsors and money into these events. These guys have been grinding away at what you'd say is a grassroots level of the sport, and then to see it kind of get to that level of hype on the stream on Thursday night. You're like, hats off to you guys for being innovative, and that's what that's what those guys deserve, because they've been grinding away for a number of years, and it's awesome to see those big names rock up there and deliver with their feet as well. So yeah.
How do you reckon they got Jake Wightman to go?
I don't know. Maybe.
Don't know.
Is that just
he's got to hit the
a
time.
good race?
He hasn't got the time yet to go to the Olympics, so he actually needs these races, and I reckon they're like, we can give you these races, and then I don't know if Cam was already locked. Someone might have been locked in, but I reckon once the first domino fell, it was like, well, Cam's also coming, Jesse Hunt's coming, and
What's the time?
I'd say the managers play a part as well. So like Cam and Jai are managed by James Templeton, and so if word gets around that they've got a Charlie Hunter pacing to like 900 going after the time, and you've got the caliber of athletes of Jai, Cam, Jesse, it's like Jake's mad not to have a crack as well. But they, more of this, and like just the fan involvement, that was the best thing. It's like more people will go to the track if you start putting on events like that, where you can access, like I know at a traditional track and field meet, like you can't access the infield because you've got people throwing javelins and discuses and stuff like that. But at a distance meet like this, it was so good. And like supposedly the athletes like Cam and Jake, they stayed around for like an hour after the finish, like having photos, signing autographs. So it was just a really, really good event. And then in the women's 1500, that was won by Jaylah Hancock-Cameron in 4:14. Charlie Hunter won the men's 800 earlier in the night in 1:49, and Matilda Ryan won the women's 800 in 2:05. So, hats off to Athletics New South Wales and Bankstown for that event. World Indoor Team was announced in the last week as well. So there's only 7 Aussies in total, 6 females and 1 male. From a distance point of view, Jess Hull will be competing in the 3,000 metres, Lyndon Hall in the 1,500, and Kat Bissett in the 800. Now, all of this can be viewed on SBS Viceland and SBS Demand. So I'll just quickly run through, so Jess Hull, her final is Sunday, 7:15 a.m. Lyndon Hall has, heats on Saturday at 6:05 a.m. and the final is Monday, 8:45 a.m. And Kat Bissett has heats 10:40 p.m. on Friday, semis 11:10 p.m. on Saturday, and Monday morning at 8:20 a.m. is the final of the 800.
That's going to be something to watch there. Jess Hull, she's our biggest chance there, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
She could have a medal. There was also some indoor races over in the States and some fast 5K times. So we saw Izzy and Rose go under 15 minutes. When was that? A couple of weeks ago. Murray Plant, week and a half ago. But Lauren Ryan, the winner of Zatopek, your girl, Croak, she picked her to win Zatopek back then. She's gone out and ran 14:57 at the Dempsey Indoor Facility at the University of Washington, which now makes her the 5th fastest Aussie all time. And Amy Bunnage, who would be first year or second year over there in college, she's still under 20. She broke the Australian under 20 record by running 15:11.6. So that's huge from Lauren and huge from Amy. And it's...
Isn't that crazy? We haven't had a sub 15. Oh, no, we've had Jess running sub 15, actually. But it seems like such a rare thing, and then 3 in 2 or 3 weeks.
Because there was only 3 till recently. It was, Jess, Benita, and Eloise.
Yeah.
And now it's 6, Yeah,
do you reckon it's a bit
That'll
of that?
Put her up in the points.
Oh, yeah, with her Zatopek. Could she make the 10K team?
Oh, yeah, because there's 5K
count for, potentially.
I don't think I'll check. I actually do have the road to. I don't think the 5K counts for the 10.
You don't have that bookmarked, can you? Can you open that up and tell me where Liam Adams is sitting as well after Osaka results? Because this guy, he'd be new to the list. Oh, but he's Japanese, so maybe not. Kiyoto Hirabayashi, he got the win. He was 21 years old, I think it was. Maybe 22. University student over there. His debut, 5K PB of 14 flat. 10K, I think, was just under 28 minutes, half marathon 63. Then he's gone out and won this. He beat Stephen Kissa, he's like a 204 guy from Uganda. He won in 206.18, so the weather didn't slow him down. Supposedly he weighs 44 kilos. I read the Japan Running News article. He can't weigh.
I don't believe
3 centimetres shorter than me and weighs like 15 kilos less. I'm like,
well,
surely
no, I wouldn't be surprised because some of the Japanese women weigh in the 30s.
Really?
They are tiny.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, one stage this guy
Yeah.
kept like checking me in our pack, and I just waved to him and like, get to the front, do some work. And then I looked at him and he was like, looked like he was 44 kilos. And I'm like, this guy's not going to be blocking any wind.
So apparently to make the Olympic team for the men, he had to run 2:05.50.
Yeah. Because
So he's missed it by less than 30 seconds in that.
yeah.
That. I mean, there's still Tokyo to come, but yeah.
So Seguro Osaka, who finished third at their trials, is still safe. So,
at the moment.
So their first two must be guaranteed, and then they go time based for the third one, which is I don't mind that concept.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Koyama, he was third in 2:06.33. Dean Menzies was the best of the Australians, 2:18.51. Next best would have been Marantelli, I reckon, Croaks, 2:21.20-ish. Dave Ridley was in there somewhere, 2:20.50-ish. The guys be talking about everyone they had on the show the last couple of weeks when they do Road to Osaka. Makashi won the women's. So she 2:18 girl. Ellie, do you know? There was Dagefa, the 2:18 girl. One of them was 2:18, one of them was 2:19.
There was a 2:18 and a 2:19. The two Fancy Chemutai, who was I think she DNF'd as well.
Okay. She was one
so
of them, wasn't she?
I can't remember which was the other sub 2:20. Yeah.
So I was one in 2:24.20 by Makasha, and Dagefa was second in at 2:24.37, and Lisa Weightman, run of the day. We've brought this up a number of times. 2:24.43. Tara Palm was in eighth, 2:32.25, which was a PB for her. What's it mean for Lisa now? Like, it's just another chip on that list of amazing performances, which is to go towards her qualification for Paris, but it doesn't move her positioning.
Well, she's still third anyway, so she's still in the top three.
I know, but it feels like she hasn't been rewarded.
She wanted, she would have been, her plan going to Osaka, I imagine, was to run faster to
just, at least get Jen's time, maybe, put her into the second one.
Yeah, and obviously for her, I was in the pack with Lisa at halfway, and so we were on track for faster, and then they've slowed down a little in the second half, but not a huge, or actually probably a couple of minutes positive split. But apparently Lisa was she was leading quite a bit in that last 10Ks, and every time they slowed down she was going to the front and pushing the pace, and it was only in the last 2K I think that that she got dropped. So yeah, really, and she looked really strong. I saw her, the last time I saw her would have been, she was still just ahead of me at the last U-turn, and I think I was just starting to drop off the pack then, and she looked great. She looked fine. So
I kind of do feel for her a bit though, because she's put in an amazing effort on a rough day when not many people ran well, but it's still you're still a sitting duck with that third seeded time with Eloise, Jess, and you potentially to go again. So does she now go, maybe I've got to look for something in 7 or 8 weeks to then, just to move the arrow or move the time a bit quicker, or does she just sit and wait now?
I'm not sure. I imagine she would just only go again if she absolutely had to, which...
But she might not know if she has to until 2 weeks before the deadline closes.
Well, especially if you race on the last day of the deadline, it's look, her run certainly didn't hurt, although it's not as fast as what she has run, given the conditions, any selector would look at that and say, hey, that's a hell of a run on the day. And look, the only way that she would get knocked out of the team now is if somebody runs faster than her 2:23.15 or whatever it is. They're not going to say,
I know, yeah.
They're not going to use selectors' discretion and pick somebody that's run slower than Lisa. There's no way.
Yeah, or they're not going to look at that and go, oh, she's not as fit.
She's not in shape. She's just ran 2:24.40. Yeah, I know that. But you know the point I'm trying to make is?
Oh, yeah.
She's that performance probably deserves for her to be safer, but it's just kind of still left her vulnerable in that third spot.
But that's what's saying at the start of the show, how brutal this Olympic qualification period is, because she runs that same race in Valencia, and it's probably a minute and a half at least faster. But you just need everything to go right on the day to get the best time out of yourself. So that's her third fastest marathon, I think, behind her Osaka and then Berlin, and yeah, this was third. So this is still like a minute faster than what she ran Gold Coast a few months before she ran Berlin.
I don't know if she'd go, because if she goes again, that means she's done World Champs August, Valencia December, Osaka Feb. So it's now only 6 months or whatever to the Olympics. Going again that would be a lot of marathons in the 12 months leading into the Olympics, wouldn't it?
It certainly wouldn't be the best move for her Olympics, but I guess at the end of the day, it's all about making the Olympics.
Making the team,
so,
isn't it? Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's it's a tough one, because it's like, even if you have a race like right at the end of the period, you still have to like prepare for it. And so you're almost then doing like another mini marathon block, which you may not need to do. So yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I hadn't actually considered that. I sort of just assumed that, she was just doing this to have one more crack at trying to I actually thought she was either maybe going to try and run the Australian record or try and, improve her position in the rankings. But, don't know.
Yeah, it's something about it too, about control what you can control, and she still can control what she decides to do for the last 8 weeks. Like, I'm sure she sits down with Dick and they have a big conversation about, are we confident and you sit on your hands and wait, or do you have a backup plan if you need to go again? Fascinating.
So Liam is 69th at the moment.
Out of how many?
Well, 80.
80.
Okay. Got 11.
And with the 10K, it doesn't look like 5K times count, but cross-country counts.
For the 10K. That's right.
Remember we were talking to Caitlin Adams about that?
Yeah.
And unless you go to Spain and run these weird cross-country races, you just got no chance of qualifying for points.
Yeah.
Does World Cross would count as well, but I wonder what you have to come in World Cross.
Well, here we go, Ellie. What happens if you finish 19th at World Cross, Croaks?
Don't know.
Probably nothing with 19th, but I imagine you'd get good points for.
See you in Canberra on Friday, Ellie.
Oh yeah, that's coming up, isn't it?
It's on Friday.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like
never
30,
know.
It's going to be like 33 degrees. See.
Oh yeah, I'm all about the heat.
Yeah.
Certainly not
Count
going to
me
get
in.
Hypothermia on Friday.
God.
Listener question?
Yeah, go Croaks. Let's wrap this show up.
So there's a question from Todd Weldon about anti-inflams. He says, I thought anti-inflams were a no-go, period, but you guys seem to use them regularly for niggles. Can you explain your do's and don'ts? Maybe you go first, Ellie.
Wonder why I thought they were a no-go.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like runners live on anti-inflams.
They're not good for your liver or something, are they? Aren't they bad for you? Stomach, liver?
Nah.
Stomach. I don't know. I think maybe if you're taking them for a really long period of time. I think actually Michael Roger had some like stomach ulcers and some bleeds, maybe because of like anti-inflams. But I don't know. What are your do's and don'ts, Ellie?
Yeah, I try not to just take them willy-nilly, to be honest. I only take them if I've got something that I'm worried about. I'm not a doctor, and I think it's always best to either go and see your GP if you've got something going on and see what they recommend, because there's so many different types too. You've got like your slow-release ones, and then you've got things like Nurofen, Voltaren, which you can get over the counter and just take. But most of the time they say like only for a short period, so it might be take however many a day for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and then ideally I think you stop after that time, just so that you don't get any of those negative side effects. But yeah, I think there's a fair bit of anti-inflammatory abuse that happens in prison, to be honest. Like, I hear some stories about people that, take them very consistently for long periods of time, but yeah, you're just at risk of having so many other issues from that.
I wouldn't say you guys seem to use them regularly for niggles. Like that's like, I reckon I've said on this show maybe twice in the last 6 months that I had a tiny little niggle. I smashed anti-inflams for 2 days and then got rid of it with a bit of like deloading and stuff as well. Like, yeah.
I think
that's my experience with them.
One part of the treatment, but yeah, I think like taking a heap of anti-inflams and not adjusting load and doing that is not really ideal. You sort of want to use them in conjunction.
Yeah. And it'd have to be a pretty kind of serious niggle that I was concerned about to touch them. Not just like general soreness, which I hear some people, or, they're pushing through big niggles and they're just constantly taking them. Croaks?
Yeah.
What's your experience with them?
So I don't like taking them, but I have been taking them like the last couple of weeks. And so I generally hit them like pretty hard over a short period of time. So I use like the Voltaren 25s, and I normally take like two morning, 2 lunch, 2 dinner. So like 6 a day sort of thing. Generally for like 2 or 3 days to try and like really get on top of something. This hip thing I've probably been on them a little bit longer, like where I'll have them on for like 3 days, pretty solid, and then go off them. And like even this, I took 2 this morning after my run. But I'm pretty much at the point now where it's like, well, I think I've gone through like 2 boxes in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm sort of done now after this because I don't
Do they
like
mess
taking
with your
them.
guts?
No, like I don't have any like short term like effects from them, but I'm just not sure what they do sort of over a period of time. I know for the Voltaren ones, I always say have them with food, so I make sure that I do that. And I also because there's also like slow release anti-inflams, I think, versus like Voltaren and stuff like that. It's pretty like rapid, whereas I think you get like, is it like Celebrex or something like that? That's a bit more of a slow release, which is probably maybe a little bit better for your stomach. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I think Celebrex and Mobic and those kind of ones, you take them once a day. I think they can still have the same effects on your stomach.
Okay.
Like even them, you're not meant to take for a long period of time, but sometimes you can get away with a bit longer. But that's all prescription stuff, so you have to get, you have to see a doctor.
Yeah.
To get those ones. And then there's like hardcore ones like prednisolone and which is basically like cortisone, stuff like that you can, but I mean, they've all got basically the more hardcore they get, the more side effects they seem to have, so got to be careful.
Interesting. Learned something there. Croaks' Whisper of the Week. Here we go, Ali, strap in. Hopefully Tiggy doesn't wake up and you miss this.
Well, it sort of comes into, it's related back to that Bankstown Milers Meet where we had Cam, Jesse, Jai, and Jake Wightman running. So my whisper is that AA is not happy with like Athletics New South Wales and that Bankstown meet because they lured Jake, Cam, and Jai, and now none of them are racing in Canberra this weekend. Because if you have a look at which sort of comes to what's coming up, the Canberra Track Classic is Saturday afternoon, and like none of those guys. Actually, Jesse Hunt is the only one of those that is running the 1,500 metres. So it would make sense that AA is not real happy that those guys have gone race there, and then some of our biggest stars are not going to be at the one of the premier meets for the season. Thoughts, Brady?
Athletics Australia should be ringing Bankstown and saying, thank you for what you're doing for our sport. You guys are doing our job for us. They're probably all volunteers at Bankstown organising this stuff. And what we saw on Thursday night was a beautiful example of how the sport could and should be run. And there's no way, if this whisper is true, that Athletics Australia should be annoyed at Bankstown for doing what they did. Like,
I can see why AA aren't happy though.
It should be a big conversation amongst these guys wouldn't have pulled this off the day before. Work together on these kind of things. You're all trying to achieve the same goals.
Yeah, but also look at you compare that spectacle up there on Thursday night to Zatopek. Now you commentated at Zatopek, Brady. So Zatopek would have cost a hell of a lot more money. Like I understand there was probably some field events, so you can't have people running across the infield. But then again, if you had the scheduling right, you could make sure that all the throwing events are done for like the main 10K races where people can actually get on the infield potentially. But Zatopek, you could only see 300 meters of the 400 meter track when people were running. Remember they had like the stage was set up, and then I think there was another tent that the runners
I was in the commentary box watching a TV because I couldn't see.
Yeah, how is that a good spectacle? And that's the governing body putting that event on. Whereas you've got like a club, an athletic and a state organisation putting that meet on in Bankstown, and it's the best thing I've seen in years at a track meet. So anyway, that's the whisper. So ruffled a few feathers up there, I think, in New South Wales.
Oh, wonder what the
you've got to make it attractive to the athletes are, they can choose where they race, and it has to be worth their while, whether it's like a points that are up for grab, financial, or how I said, I wonder why Jake went and did that Bankstown race. Like if that was, hey, we've got a pacemaker, we've got these guys, and they worked hard to get him there, then yeah, good on them.
Well, that's the other thing. So the Canberra Track Classic, I think it's going to be televised between probably like 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Saturday. So the men's 1500's down for 5:35 p.m. Now, I live in Canberra. I know the conditions generally aren't great at 5:35 p.m. Whereas the Bankstown meet, that 1500 metre race was on at like 9:40 p.m. where it's not going to be super hot, although 1500 doesn't really matter too much with the heat, but the winds generally died down by 9:30 at night. So people are going to run faster up there than they are in Canberra in the heat of the day when it's likely to be windy at 5:30 in the afternoon. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. And as you said, Ellie, it's all about, these athletes want to run times. So you'd go somewhere where the conditions are probably going to be faster.
What are in your whispers inbox about how easy it is to collaborate with Athletics Australia Croaks? From my observation, it's very much like it's an our way or the highway kind of thing. This is what we're doing, these our races, don't take people away from us.
Yeah, I guess they've got to protect their own interests. A lot of money goes into these track classics, and so they're obviously looking out for their own interest. So anyway, it's I hope AA have a look at that meet up in Bankstown, because that's what we should have more of.
Just on AA, Ali, were you approached with they do this weekly recap thing? They talk about all the results that happened on the weekend, and they did a paragraph on Osaka, but there was no news about your DNF. It wasn't like Ellie Pashley was a DNF due to hypothermia at 37k. Were you contacted at all to see what happened?
Nah, I wasn't, but I mean...
So that's bullshit. Because heaps of people, our DMs are what the hell happened to Ali, this and that. People are concerned. I get it if it's Moose, because it's he's not trying to qualify for the Olympics kind of thing. You don't need to jot down every single DNF that happened. But if you're one of the premier Australian distance runners and you're writing a recap about what the premier Australian distance runners are doing in a race, it's not hard to send a message and be like, hey, Ali, are you okay for starters? Can we explain to our followers, our audience, why you didn't finish?
Yeah, Lockie normally does. He has contacted me in the past when he's writing articles before races and stuff to ask questions, but not this one.
Not probably. A fan. Yeah, your association inside runner might have impacted that maybe. Anyway, what's coming up, Croaks? World Cross Country Trials. You'll be getting happy about this on Friday night?
I don't think I'll be out there watching it, to be honest.
It's in your hometown and you're not going to go.
Well... there's 11 women in competing, so it's it's not the strongest field this year around.
You seen these fields, Ali? Click on that link.
No, I haven't. I was actually just looking it up now.
So top two guaranteed.
Yeah, top two are guaranteed. Which, looking at this, I'm going to you've got Paige Campbell, Caitlin Adams. And Melissa Duncan are probably the three standouts there for the women.
Sarah Klein could push for that spot.
Yeah.
She could too. Sarah's pretty good cross country runner.
Yeah, so there's 4.
Oh yeah, that's a real See this is, I guess it's Olympic year as well, but you don't have your Roses, Izzy. Jen, compared to the
Leanne,
that's interesting. Leanne's not running. That's a real shame.
And I think based on the starting times, they're actually just going to run the race together. So the women and the men are just going to start all as one race.
You can't do that.
No, we'll have a look at the 7 p.m.
I'm not arguing that that's what it is, but you can't have a women's race that's a trial race in a men's race. Because if you've just got trainer partners, you say, hey, hook us up, pace me for this. It should be tactical. You should be learning how to win races and come top to it. When you make the move, when you don't, you shouldn't be impacted by the men around you.
The men's field's a fair bit stronger.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it? Yeah. Do you agree with me?
Still missing your Jacks and Bretts, but...
You can't
Do you agree with that, Ellie? You wouldn't want to have men impacting the trial?
That's why people go to mixed
probably
gender
not, but
races.
if they were two really strong fields, it probably wouldn't, because it wouldn't be long before the men had cleared out.
No, but anyone can enter. So imagine if they're kicking down and there's like men who are struggling on the side of the path and you've got to get past them and stuff, like 32-minute guys.
But also, Brady, it's no different to women, like Ellie, for example. Let's say Ellie ran 2:22 on the weekend and Kieran paced her the whole way. It's like, well, males are impacting.
Exactly. That's why she went here and not Nagoya.
Yeah, but you're saying they shouldn't be able to do it here.
I think it's a massive performance enhancer. It was why they all ran out at Valencia as well. Like, you would be crazy if you're trying to run a time and you don't go to a mixed gender race for the marathon.
Yeah, look, I don't think for this example, I don't think it's going to have a massive impact.
It could.
Across the girls' race, but
anyway. I hadn't actually thought about that. If you recruited one of the men to pace you,
yeah. A couple of the stars in the men's field.
Yeah. What's Kieran doing Friday night? Take him up
there. Yeah, Moose.
Recovering from his 225.
Oh yeah, take Moose.
I hear his Hemi's all right now.
Brady, what are you doing
Friday night? The Hemi was fine at karaoke. I will not be doing that in Canberra.
Yeah. So we've got Zach Faccioni, Tim Vincent,
Josh Phillips is pretty fit.
Josh Phillips, yep.
Aaron Spiceberger Parker. This would be good.
No, Aaron's not running. Riley Cox, Seth O'Donnell, Ed Goddard, Ed Marks.
So this is going to be good for two of these guys to make an Australian team.
Have to
Logan Zanescu.
Yeah, Liam Adams.
Andre.
Yeah, so it's actually like the men's race is pretty good.
It's pretty good, but it's still going to be a great opportunity for someone to snag two. Well, maybe, I don't know, you look at Liam and go, yeah, that's probably one of them locked away of people who's represented Australia in the past. But there's a lot of people there that haven't got an Australian singlet who might snag first or second spot there. Yeah, it could be good.
So they'll take the top two, and then is it the rest discretion, did you say?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But I think the discretion's going to be pretty hard enforced. Like, it's not, we're still going to pick another four. It's like, nah, unless you're good, you're not going.
Like, I personally can't see them sending probably any more than the top two women.
Unless Jen puts her hand up and says, hey, actually, I do want to go. I wasn't at the trials.
Oh, yeah.
Or Rose or something like that.
They do have this other selection criteria where you should be able to run particular times for like 10K. And so, like, a lot of those girls aren't sort of anywhere near those 10K times that they're asking for.
I heard a whisper that Pat Tiernan's going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Well,
really?
Yeah, so then...
Now we're talking about it. Someone was like, no, mate, I think Christian from Norway told me. I don't know how that whisper's gone from Norway to Australia.
I feel like they'll send more males than they will females for this team, though. Because if Pat does want to run it, they'll send him. Plus, they'll send top two from here. So there's three. And then I even reckon like third and fourth in the men's trial, like they'll still be like, you know, a calibre of athlete that should be running world champs.
I remember you get invoiced for $3,000 to $4,000, and then if you come top 20, you get reimbursed.
I hope the athletes get told whether they're definitely going to be in, because in the selection criteria, it says, let me just find it. While not part of the selection criteria, athletes should be aware that Athletics Australia reserves the right to impose a levy on athletes to participate. So it's like, surely they get told beforehand. Like,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know whether they've been told whether they definitely have to pay or,
Okay.
Watch this space.
So that's coming up. Tokyo Marathon's coming up. Kipchoge and Safan Hassan as the headliners there. Canberra Track Classic was spoken about there. Claudia Hollingsworth in that 8 croaks. We've spoken about that. Bindiri, Georgia Griffiths, Jesse Hunt to stand out in the 15. Our boy, Peyton the Beast Craig in the 800, looking to return to form. Charlie Hunter looked good in that pacing job as well.
Yeah.
So that should be good. What's happening between now and next week, Brad?
Don't know.
Watch some cross country.
Trying to get on top of this hip.
Good luck with that. Ali, what are you doing? Having a meeting with Moose?
Yeah, I need to, work out my plan of attack for the next couple of months. So get that sorted in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, I'll have to talk to Nick and see if I can get into any races, and then, give it one more crack.
I still like the idea of Ballarat. You could have 5 guys just make a diamond around you. Do you know what I mean? It'd be easy to recruit pacemakers. Don't have to travel.
I did think that, but you just, like, Ballarat, who knows what the weather could be doing. I think the course is pretty flat.
Yeah, it's only like 100 metres of elevation, I think, yeah.
What a statement that would be. It's like you run well, like you basically put yourself in the top 3 doing it on home soil. That'd be pretty special.
It would be very unlikely.
I don't know. I think people are being harsh from Ballarat.
Well, do you know this?
How many people run well at the 15K there?
And April, May is by far the best time in Victoria weather-wise. Like we have less wind, cool mornings, so it could be awesome, but it's risky.
We
but
have just rolled the dice in Japan and just got burnt as well.
Going overseas.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
All right, we're done. Izzi Batt-Doyle coming up at the end of the show. Thanks, Ellie. See you later, Croaks. Enjoy this chat with Izzi Batt-Doyle. Thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration. See you, team.
See ya.
See you guys. All right, this week on the Inside Run podcast, it's a bit of a Friends of the Show catch-up. Here's Izzi Batt-Doyle, thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration. Looking forward to talking all things running again. Izzi, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Brady. Thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. Staying cool over there in hot Adelaide?
Yes, it's pretty warm. High 30s today, and yesterday was even worse. But yeah, staying cool. How about you?
Yeah, well, I have been in cold Japan, and then I'm back to warm Chuka Moamba at the moment. I'm not sure which one I like better, because when I was pre-race, I was all about getting to some cool weather because it was a bit hot. But then after a cold morning, I'm very happy to be back in warm conditions now. So it's good to be back on Australian soil. And hey, talking to someone who had a pretty good run on Australian soil a few weeks ago at the Murray Plant Meet, you must have been stoked with that. First time under 15 minutes with 14:59. And it was the 5th fastest Australian at the time. I think you've just been bumped number 6 because Lauren Ryan ran quick over in the States during the week.
Yeah, no, I was really happy just to get that sub 15. Something I was, going for a while. And I'm not sure if I thought I would realistically get back to that after transitioning more towards the roads and the marathon the last 18 months. So, yeah, stoked to get that one first race of the season and first track race in 18 months and get that sub 15. It meant a lot to me. And when I saw that on the results, see the 14:59 and not 15:00, I was very pleased.
Watching it at home, it almost looked perfect. Well, perfect for Rose because she had you then go to the front with 2 laps to go to kind of really get things going towards the finish line. But the way the race was kind of like set up early, there was like maybe another pacemaker, a Japanese lady, I reckon, who never went to the front. But that Ethiopian did a good job.
Yeah, so, we always went into this race thinking it was an opportunity to run fast, gold label meet, big crowd there at the Murray Plant Meet. But notoriously, Lakeside Stadium's pretty windy. It's not generally the best conditions for going fast. So we're a little bit sceptical, but they did the best job they could to set it up. We had a pacer for the first K. She nailed it, 3 minutes on the dot. And then there was a Japanese girl who was supposed to pace to 2K, but unfortunately she just couldn't quite get to the front. She's a very good half marathon runner, has run 70 minutes at Maragami, but I think just the way they train, it's just a bit different. And she struggled to get that 72 pace going. So unfortunately, I think she ended up kind of fading back to 10th, but she did get the 5 laps done, just not quite on the pace job she was meant to do. But the Ethiopian girl, she was great. She wasn't pacing, she was in the race, but she was looking to push the pace, and it was pretty perfect for Rose and myself to get a sit there for a while, and I had to sort of push the pace in the last 2 laps just to make sure we were keeping her honest, because I felt like we were slipping a bit. I'd heard some 72.9s and 73s and knew we had to really kind of grind it down if we wanted to get close to that sub 15.
And was it a 68 into like a 65-ish for you? Was that pretty similar?
Oh, no, I think my second to last lap apparently was about a 70.
Okay.
And then my last lap was 68 or 69.
Okay, yeah.
And Rose was 66 or 67. So to be honest, I'm pretty happy with that. Like, I haven't run anything faster than a 302K in like a year. So to go like 60, 69, I'm happy, but I'll have to work on that kind of closing speed if I want to get towards the pointy end of races.
It says so much about how important the strength is, though, still for a 5K. Like, I can't even imagine you wouldn't have run on a track. Like, you were up at Falls Creek for, 6 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah, I was up at Falls for almost 5 weeks. And, before that, like, I run, been down at my beach house and then I'd been obviously overseas a lot last year and running in Bushy Park and doing a lot of I guess more strength-based training and up at Falls. We're doing hills, K reps, threshold. We're really not doing any track, any sort of short specific work. So, but I really think, especially for the women, the 5K is really an aerobic race. So the fitter you are, the stronger you are. Usually speed comes from that.
When you put your spikes on, is there ever a moment where you're like, oh, this is a hole-less shoe? Am I going to be able to run? Do your legs, are they not used to it? Or you just put them on and slip in fine?
I hadn't worn them for a year, and I actually did a photo shoot for ASICS recently in January, and I had to be in spikes for about 4 hours, and I pulled up really sore the next day, even though I hadn't even done that much running in them, just kind of wearing them around for a few strides, and it was pretty sore. But I don't know, for this race, my main concern is I've got kind of an ongoing hamstring issue, and putting my spikes on, I always just get a little bit wary that it's going to be quite a lot of impact on the legs. But it was actually all right. The legs and the body sort of just got into rhythm and pulled up not too bad. So, looking forward to the rest of the track season.
Oh, that's good. So that's where the focus is going to be for the next couple of weeks. We were just previewing on the main show the women's trials for the World Cross Country, and your name's obviously not there. So is it all about track?
It's all about track for me at the moment. I think after Valencia, my plan was always to try and get back on the track and improve my track times. I love the marathon, and it's like training for a marathon. It's great, but you sort of can't do it all year round, or maybe you shouldn't, just to kind of mix things up, keep a bit of speed in the legs. So just focusing on the track the next couple of months. And I'd love to do it all. I did World Cross Country last year, and that was awesome in Bathurst, but I just don't think the timing is optimal this year if you're looking towards Paris. So unfortunately, giving World Cross trials a miss, but hopefully there's a strong enough field to make it a good race on Friday evening.
The time, it must give you a lot of confidence, that 5K time now, after, kind of as you said, Albert Park, cooler night, put that same fitness into an American or European 5K race that's going to get paced at 14:40, 14:45. It must give you confidence you can definitely get that time for the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I think myself and Rose definitely, in the mix at that time. And obviously, as you mentioned, Lauren Ryan ran a quick indoor 5K at my university home track, Washington, last weekend. So she's going well too. So it's good to see, a few of us under that 15-minute barrier. And I think as the times have progressed over the last few years for the qualifying times, we're just having to rise to that level. So, a couple of years ago, running under 15:10 was a massive ask. And then now it's kind of like, well, you got to go 20 seconds faster. But I think that it's definitely possible. And having this race under my belt to start the season puts me in good confidence, to continue to kind of push the boundaries of that time. So I'm hoping that we can get another opportunity to go faster because, as you said, Lakeside, not the best conditions. But it was a great night out there with lots of support. So, hopefully we can replicate it again.
Is the marathon totally out of the question between now and the qualifying period ending? You're sitting in fourth, but just at the moment?
I won't do another marathon, but I feel like I've thrown my hat in the ring to be considered for selection. So there's a tough call that the selectors have to make between everyone who's kind of put their hat in the mix, and there's a few more girls to go still. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. But I think it's in my best interest to just focus on being a better athlete on the track for the next couple of months, and then just seeing what happens towards Paris with that selection.
Because a lot of people think, who have not read the policy, that it's just fastest three are guaranteed to be selected, whereas it's not. It's hit this time and then your name's in the hat for the selectors to show discretion. So that's probably something you're sitting there going, my name's in the hat, I've thrown out what I can do, please have the conversation about me, see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where I'm sitting at. Everyone's got reasons why they maybe should or shouldn't be selected, I guess, and it's a tough one. We don't usually have this predicament where we've got more people than places available. It's usually if you can get under time, you're sort of set to go. But it's interesting to see, and I think it's great with the marathon. There's heaps of opportunities to race, big events like the majors, and Valencia not even being a major, but it's a pretty massive event to be a part of. So if I don't get a chance to run at Paris. There'll be other opportunities later in the year, I'm sure.
Yeah, especially when you got that PB now. Like, it must be much easier to get into races.
I hope so, yeah. Well, last year we were sub-elite for Valencia and, funded the whole trip myself. So fingers crossed that maybe in the future that might not be the case, but we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully that gets a bit easier for you. Hey, what do you, with night races, all our listener questions, not all of them, a lot of our listener questions often come in about what people eat before. I want to talk to you about your marathon nutrition, what you did at Valencia.
Yeah.
We'll do that in a second, thanks to precision and stuff like that. But what do you have before Murray plan? And I understand this could be absolutely anything, but a night race, like, do you load on caffeine and then not sleep? Like, what's on the menu leading into that?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I have a lot of athletes ask this too when they do our local kind of 5K and 3K races. It's like everyone's pretty used to a morning race, but the afternoon race sort of throws you off a bit. For me, I just keep things pretty plain, pretty beige. So a regular day, and what I did for Moira Plant, got up, I had like oats with banana, peanut butter, some chia seeds actually, a bit of maple syrup, and then went for a shakeout jog, had a coffee. And then for lunch, I had just like heaps of rice, like probably like 2 or 3 bowls of just plain white rice. And I put some like soy sauce on it just for a bit of taste.
Yep.
But yeah, pretty plain. And then I think I had a banana. And then, yeah, about 3 hours before when I was getting ready to go, I had like 2 or 3 pieces of white bread, actually pretty nice sourdough bread, with just jam on it, raspberry jam. And that was it. Yeah.
So
also,
basic,
like heaps of,
plain sugars.
Yeah. Heaps of electrolytes. And then maybe an hour beforehand, I had one of the precision like chews. So they're 30 grams of carbs. And they're like, when I tell people here at the Run House, where we stock them and my athletes, I honestly think they're like a Turkish delight. Like they're so
that's
yummy.
what they feel like, don't they? Texture.
Yeah. So but that's just like a nice little hit, because I like to have my last meal like at least 3 hours before the race. But I do find that I tend to get a bit like kind of hungry, or just feel like I haven't had a top up of sugar in a while. So yeah, that just kind of ticks the box of just like getting a bit of quick sugar in before racing. And then I have for the track I have a Revy strip like 30 or 40 minutes beforehand, like when I warm up. But then like for a marathon I'd have a calf gel. I also had a black coffee when I left home, so yeah, like 3 hours before. Good. So yeah, pretty plain. And then afterwards I had a pretty average pizza from one of the places that was open at 9:30 at night. But yeah, all good. Didn't sleep much afterwards because of caffeine and also just being a little bit hyped from the race.
Oh yeah, I reckon a 14:59 will probably do that to you.
Yeah.
Yep. So then, like, with the track stuff coming up, have you got any locked-in races? Like, I know Canberra Track Classics this weekend, but is there stuff you're kind of looking at locally, or you'll travel?
I'm going to do just the 3K Nationals, which are in Sydney. And then I think that some of us are going to head back to Falls Creek for a couple of weeks, and then come back down for the National 5K here in Adelaide, which will be fun because that's, my hometown. But that's sort of all that's really locked in for now. And then, like, I haven't done any track since, Com Games, so I won't have a ranking until I've done 3 events.
Yeah.
So currently, I've got my 40:59. I think I'm pretty sure, like, with a gold label meet, that will give me pretty good points being second. Would be nice to win, but not quite. But yeah, I'll need 2 more events to even have a ranking, so I won't really know like where I'm sitting until mid-April.
National points got to help too, though, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. Like the National 3 and the National 5 will be good opportunities to get points, and hopefully, get on the podium and run reasonably quick. I know Jess Hull is doing the 3K, so I feel like it's going to be an honest, fast race. I'm hoping I can get a PB there and hang on. My PB's a little bit old. It's from 2021, 8:51. So yeah, it'd be good to get under 8:50 and get a few points on the board. So we'll see.
We've kind of seen that from Jess when she comes home as well. Like, she's not afraid to just go, hey, I'm not just doing a sit and kick here. Like, I'm going hard from middle early on.
like the last race, I did the 5K at Nationals in 2022.
Yeah.
And I was hoping she would push the pace, but unfortunately she did sort of do a sit and kick last lap in that one. And I guess I was the one who kind of screwed myself over a little bit there, because I kind of led the whole race and then got out the fourth and ended up missing out on world champs there. But that's all good. These things happen and you learn from races. And that's the thing about the track. There's a lot more tactics involved than just kind of grinding it out on the roads.
Yeah, and I do feel that Jess can win it either way. Like she's got the speed and the strength. Yeah. Like probably depends on what mood she wakes up in the morning and how she's going to win it or attempt to win it. Yeah,
she's going so well, and it really helps. I think it really helps elevate the rest of us, because we see Jess running these massive fast times, and it's like, well, we need to close the gap a little bit there to be, in the same conversation. So it's good to keep pushing us forward.
Yeah. What about your fueling, like back to the marathon? Like, how has it changed from, I guess, your first? Like, did you study it a lot leading into your debut?
I sort of sat down with a sports dietitian and got a bit of a plan. I was fortunate that I'd done a half marathon at Melbourne the year before in 2021. And I sort of actually just copied what Jacob and Riley had kind of been given by a dietitian. And yeah, like I'd practiced sort of the carb load for that half. So when it came to doing my first marathon, I just kind of like, I'd trialed it once before, but I did pay a lot of attention to it, because I knew that nutrition was a huge part of making or breaking your marathon. And I was lucky that I did a kind of half marathon locally here at the City Bay 2 weeks before Melbourne Marathon. And I really used that as a practice test. Like I did the whole carb load 2 days before, and I did my like pre-race breakfast, and like the race started at 6 a.m. So it was a really good practice for me. And I always encourage athletes that I work with to, pick a long run 3 weeks out and sort of do it as a practice race day and carb load, because it's pretty important to know what works for you.
Yeah. And do you play around with certain numbers there? Like, do you have the carb load numbers that, is it 10 grams per kilo body weight?
Yeah,
like, do you do that?
Like 8 to 10 grams of carbs per kilo body weight. To be honest, I love to eat, and I eat a lot of carbs because I'm vegan. And so it's actually, I don't find it too crazy getting the amount in that you're supposed to. I actually think I overate on rice for my second marathon in Nagoya. I was so full, couldn't even sleep.
Yeah.
So I've learned the timing. I've learned that it's probably better to prioritize the carb load, like not the day before, but 2 days before, and then sort of ease off in the afternoon into dinner the night before. And you really should have all your stores banked up by then. But yeah, it's funny, when Riley and I both did Melbourne Marathon 2 years ago, I was fine. I was enjoying the carb load, and he was like, oh my God, not another meal. He was really struggling. So it's funny. I love rice, so I'm happy to down a few bowls.
And then take me to Valencia. What did you end up getting drinks in the end, even though you were sub-elite? You still had access to your own drinks. Yeah. And did you carry gels or have them taped to your bottles?
There was a lot of talk in the lead up for this, because we were only sub-elite and we weren't sure about the drink situation and whether that was just going to be for the elites, or actually we knew we were going to have drinks out, but we didn't know how chaotic it was going to be.
Yeah.
So in my preparation for Valencia, I was using a lot more gels in training, and planning for the fact that I probably was going to only take on gels and maybe get some water along the course. But I also did practice with the drink mix too. So for my first 2 marathons, I used a different brand. It worked well for me, but I wasn't over the moon about my fueling. I felt like it wasn't perfect. And I tried the precision gels when we got them in stock here at the Run House. It must have been, early, like mid 2023. And I tried them for the first time, and I just could not believe how good the gel was. Like, I was just like, this is actually something that I would enjoy having and look forward to on a run. And everyone that tried them here in the store who'd used different brands sort of ended up switching to precision, just because, they really like the gels. So I used the gels first, and then I did start using the drink mix. They brought out a carb-only mix sort of later last year. So that was what I was practicing with before Valencia, and then subsequently used in the race. But it's funny because, we got to the race, drinks tables, it was super organized. Like, I was on table 3, actually table 5, number 3. Like, it was so organised. I could see my drink every time I went past. So in the end, I actually just took on all drink mix, and I had 3 gels in my sports bra and didn't use any of them.
Did you throw them though to get less weight for the last couple of Ks?
I actually chucked one at Riley when I saw him, and but then he didn't actually even pick it up. I just chucked it at him, and then I ended up finishing the race still with 2 in my top.
Good insurance though, things to go if you miss a drink somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, I really love. I'm a high sweater, and even though even in cold conditions, I think that it's good to get fluid in. So I really do like that drink mix, and I think they've nailed the carb mix. I didn't love the taste of the previous drink mix that was like
the one with sodium as well.
Sodium.
Yeah.
And look, I think it's probably really good for a hot marathon to get those electrolytes in, but I just didn't kind of work with me. Didn't sit with me all that well. But yeah, the carb only mix is fantastic. Like, I can just get down heaps of that. And yeah, I think I got down, they did an analysis with me after the race, and I estimated that I got it in around 70 grams of carbs per hour, which is pretty decent. I think, 67, 70. Pretty decent. I probably could have taken on a gel or 2 just to top that up a little bit more. But I always find it hard, like when you're halfway through a marathon or 30 Ks in, it's just sort of the last thing you feel like doing.
Yeah.
on. But yeah.
The good thing about that pack of that carb mix only as well is you can look on the back of it, and it's just like per 500 mils of water, this is how many scoops you can add into, like, kind of choose your own adventure kind of thing. Like, you can kind of put in, I know on the weekend when it was pretty cold in Japan, like, we went heavier just because we knew that we didn't need it. We could make it more concentrated because we didn't so much need the fluid, but we could make it kind of thicker, more carb. Strong when you're picking them up.
I like that because I actually put in like, I think like 6 scoops or whatever it is to the liter, and I put out a bit more, like, knowing that, when you get a bottle, it's really hard to get the whole thing in, just because you'd have to be squeezing it and sucking it all down. So, I kind of estimate that if I fill this bottle, I'll probably get 3/4 of it down. So, you try and want to make it a little heavier so that you actually get enough in.
Yeah, so if you get half the bottle down, that's a pass mark, and you're going to be fine. Like, it's not, And you carry them for a couple of Ks as well, your bottles, or you kind of go pretty quick, getting as much down as you can and then throw it?
I like to get it down over a couple of 100 meters. It sort of depends on how I'm feeling, but I do find the drink stations come around pretty quickly in a marathon. Like, every 5K is 17 minutes. And by the time you get your drink, you finish it, the next drink station comes around in 15 minutes time. So I always felt like I was getting the drink and then kind of holding it for a little bit and like getting it down slowly. But yeah, I think that in my next race I will do the same, that kind of 8 drinks and getting in about a liter of fluid, with at least 60 grams of carbs in that per hour. But I think I'll try and aim to get at least 1 gel in, if not 2, just to top it up.
Well, you must have got it pretty close to right that Valencia, like the way you came home. Like, you definitely didn't look like you were carb depleted.
No, I think definitely was full of energy, and I came home pretty strong. I had a bit of a lapse, about 28 Ks. Jen and Elsie and Lisa went with the group, and I think we were running about 322s, 323s, 24s maybe, and there was a 314, and I wasn't prepared to go with the move. It just felt too early. I was feeling a little bit, wasn't feeling quite my best at that stage, having just a little bit of a rough patch. And I was carrying a hamstring injury, and I was just a little bit concerned about putting in a surge so early. But yeah, I did come home pretty strong, so I reckon I nailed the carb load.
Got that right. What else has been happening in the world of Izzi Batt-Doyle? Business is good at the shop. Coaching, busy with that.
It's very busy, Runners One, such a great community. I'm always very, very amazed at just, the continuation of the growth of the community. And I really can't take much credit because Riley does the bulk of the work, and I just jet away on training camps and races. But no,
you're the face, though, aren't you?
Yes, it's all part of the equation. We work together. but no, it's going well, and yeah, it's just amazing. Hey, isn't running like cool?
Oh, it's incredible. Like I kind of don't see it as much in the tiny community, but like hearing from friends in Melbourne and Adelaide, and you look just like you go to Instagram stories and just watch some of the run groups, and it's just phenomenal. The interest that people, we see it with the podcast numbers and obviously the coaching and stuff as well. Like everything just keeps rolling. Like it's like a snowball, just keeps rolling and getting bigger and bigger, and you're like, how are these numbers still going up when we felt like we'd peaked a year ago, kind of thing.
Yeah, I did think like COVID kind of had peaked it, but to be continuing, and like there's some massive run groups now. Like I don't know, Run South Yarra in Melbourne, and another one in Sydney that's got like I don't know 1,000 people. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I know Runners One's a pretty big community, but we've been sort of going strong since 2020, so it doesn't feel like we've just jumped onto the scene, but it does feel like there's a lot of new groups popping up everywhere, and everyone's kind of in a run club. But I feel like it's sort of the way of people don't really go out as much to nightlife as anymore. Maybe like going to a run club is the way to meet people.
That's the dating app, I heard, Izzy. I'm way too old, I'm married, I live in a small town to even know this kind of stuff, but that's what my people on the ground tell me, that is run crews are the new groups or whatever they're called, are the new dating app.
Well, I heard that run groups are the new like golf, like people who do like social stuff with their like work friends or like whatever, like going for a run group is now like the golf of what it used to be. So
and then the bike riding, when you then stop and have the coffee and the croissant and all that, like it's more about the event that happens after it than the actual run sometimes. For
sure. And we feel that we get that a lot with like our events and the run house here. It's people love their running and they come to training, to train and obviously to improve their running, but I think the social aspect is a huge part of it too.
It must be, I wouldn't say weird, but it'd be interesting for you to see all different levels of it. Like you would see the people that are grinding out there at 5:30am to 6:30 and they haven't got time for a coffee afterwards because they're going to then rush to work, and it's that kind of like, I don't know, that grinding kind of blue collar runner kind of thing. And then you've got the pro one where it's like we're doing activations at 8:30, but we're not out the door warming up till 9:30, and the whole day revolves around that. And then there's probably stuff in the middle as well. Like you get a good view of all of it.
Yeah, I definitely do. Definitely see it all. And I think I really like that. I like sort of having an understanding of all levels, and I think I can relate to the elite runner, but also the beginner runner too. And I just had a coaching consult with someone just on the weekend, and they hadn't run really for a year, and it's just about building back into it. But I love that. I love just seeing people, want to get back into it and want to get out there, and it doesn't really matter what pace you're running, as long as you're
all doing the same
thing. Trying to get going.
100%. You see it with the events now too. Like it's probably doesn't impact you too much as a elite runner, but trying to get into races, it's like, hey, what are you doing in 8 months' time? You should be locking that in now, because you can't just enter a few months out.
Yeah, Gold Coast and Melbourne have really popped off this year, and it's obviously fortunate as an elite. I know I can always get a start if I sort of want to do it, but for a lot of the athletes that we coach, it's sort of been like, well, that's out of the question. So now what's your backup race going to be?
Which should be good. Like it'll filter down to the less popular marathons as well, and all races. Yeah.
Well, Ballarat Marathon coming up. Looks like it's going to be a good sort of local one your way.
We're just talking about it off air. We're just questioning Ellie about it. Like, hey, the time's still open, the qualifier. Yeah. Like, will Ballarat just have all these last ditch people going for? Yeah, we'll get your paces. Give her the old Kipchoge pacing thing. It could be. It should be great for the regional races and things like that as well. Hey, last one for you. What book's on the bedside table? Would have asked you last time you're on the show. What are you reading?
Do you know, I actually haven't read much for a while, but I have been reading to help me sleep at night. I feel like a wordy book gets you kind of tired at night. Yeah. It's called The Great Circle. It's fiction. It's totally not something I'd pick. My mum gave it to me, but I'm actually really enjoying it. So
recommend it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I recommend it.
I'm going to put it on my list of books to check out.
Taking me a while to read though, because I read 10 to 15 pages a night, and then I just get tired and it goes on the bedside table. I do the same thing. I swear people told me that it's not good for you to get to sleep, but hey, anecdotally it works perfectly for me, so definitely. I reckon there's something in it for sure. It's got to be better than watching a TV. Watching TikTok puts Riley to sleep, so something for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he should be doing that at all. It could be a dangerous world to get into.
No, he actually falls asleep. Phone it drops out of his hand, and I'm like, I don't understand it. That would keep me buzzing.
Yeah, that definitely would as well for me. Hey, Izzy, 30 minutes goes quick when you're chatting to you. Massive thanks for your time.
Thanks,
all
Brady.
The best for the track stuff, and gaining. I think you'll get the time anyway, so points won't even be a question. So
thanks,
all the best for knocking that over.
Hope you recover well.
Yeah, it should be good. We were just toying around.
Thaw out from Japan.
Oh, yeah, something about it. Yeah, I love that country, though. You've raced there a few times.
Yeah,
You would have
no,
loved your
it's good.
experiences over there in Japan.
Yeah, it is great. It's funny, though. I was there 4 times last year, but I went in February for a Maragami half, and it was freezing. It was 5 degrees. And then I raced 5 weeks later for the Nagoya Marathon, and it was mid-20s and too hot. Yeah. So it's just like you never know what you're going to get. It's crazy.
I don't think many people had considered it as well with that whole, like, I think people thought it was safer bet than it actually is. Even with Tokyo coming up this week, like we had a lot of listener questions like, oh my God, we saw Osaka. We've got an entry for Tokyo this week. Like we're flying out Wednesday. Like help us. What do we do? Like I guess because we get so fixated on the heat over here, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, it'd be cool and it'll be nice, cool. Not like, oh, this is a bit unsafe, like can't perform in this kind of weather. Yeah. Have you got any tips with people? Like you've paced in it, like people lining up at Tokyo on the weekend or Nagoya in a couple of weeks if it is that icy kind of cold. Because Tokyo's looking like 2 degrees on Sunday morning.
I just think, like for me, it's good arm warmers. And gloves, and just staying warm for as long as possible. Even those little heat packets in your gloves.
That's what I did. Yeah, that was good.
I get bad circulation in my hands and feet, so it's for me. It's about keeping my hands and feet warm. And like ears, headband, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's just like all you can do is sort of focus on what you can control on the day. And I remember last year, like I was pretty annoyed because Nagoya was supposed to be cold and it was I was hot.
Yeah, that's right.
2022 when we started, and I remember seeing photos from Lisa running Osaka a couple of weeks before, and she was in gloves and arm warmers, and I was like, how did it change in 3 weeks? But you never know what you're gonna get. But hopefully Tokyo, I've got an athlete racing Tokyo this weekend, and hopefully it's going to be appropriate conditions.
And like controlling what you can control as well.
Yeah,
like you can,
exactly.
Yeah, we were checking weather apps way too much than we should have been in the days leading in. You just check it once a day and then accept it and then go again.
Yeah, definitely.
That's good. Thanks, Izzi, for your time. Really appreciate that.
Brady. Look after yourself.
Special thanks to On for sponsoring this episode of the Inside Running podcast. The new Cloudrunner 2 for no bad runs ever. With more support, more comfort and more cushioning for more fun on every run. For professional athletes and new runners alike, our Heelin Superphone is a game changer. The upgraded midsole provides softer cushioning and higher energy return, plus Cloud Tech cushioning to absorb impact, so you can keep racking up the miles with confidence. Visit on.com or your specialty running retail store to grab your pair today.